Heyo, duckies and dice fiends! Welcome back. Sorry we are a tiny bit late today. Tech gremlins be tech gremlining. But, hello! I am Kay. I am one of your co-hosts. I am here with, why do we have a big black square on screen? It went away. Okay. I am here with, David. That way, I think. Trying to see. I've got a video lag. I'm here with David, my co-host, who is wrong side. I'm here with
Yep.
David. We have a special guest, but before we get to that, David, who the heck is you, and what the heck is we doing here?
Hi, welcome to my hour-long stand-up special where I will repeat the same 5-minute routine.
Boo.
15. Wait, how many times is it? 20 times in a row. Wait, is that the right? I
I'm
can't
gonna
math.
put you on Grant shaming.
That's fair. No. Welcome to the Chaotic Wholesome talk show, the Tuesday Table Talk Show. Hi, Rex. Where every week we talk about TTRPG stuff, how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, how to be a better person, how to not be a stand-up comedian, all with a focus on intersectionality and inclusiveness so that everybody can have a good time.
And as usual, you can find David and I right here, same bat time, same bat channel, Thursdays and Fridays, playing our first co-op streamed playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3. It's fine. We haven't TPK'd 5 times. It's totally
Yeah,
good.
we've really been at it.
It's been fun. On Saturdays, please come by at noon Eastern for Body and Soul. I am in no way involved with this project. Do you know why? Because I am white as fuck, and this is a celebration of Black History Month. It is an all-black cast and crew. David is running solo production all by his lonesome, doing a great job, and it is just this incredible, intense, heartfelt story of the gods of Africa walking the earth in America through key time zones. It has been intense and beautiful and incredible so far. Thank you to our amazing performers. And starting this week, I'm going to be on Emerald Templars over at That D'Angelo's page, and I'm very excited. But that's more than enough about us, because we are here to talk Starfinder, Dead Sundays, and so the heck much more with Mike, aka Logar the Ogre.
That's me.
Who the heck is you, and what the heck is you doing here?
Hi, I'm Logar the Ogar, GM Logar, Mike Logan, Starfinder Infinite creator and actual play producer. I produce a show called Dead Sundays. Dead Sundays is a Starfinder actual play that has just released its. Oh, I'm sorry, has just recorded and will release its first episode of its new arc tomorrow. It is a campaign that is following the Dead Suns adventure path, which is the first campaign that was published by Paizo. And I will say that if you're going to start a Starfinder show or anything, do like any amount of research first and don't pick Dead Suns, because a lot of things are not right. There was a lot of ooh and ah, and is his AC supposed to be that high? That doesn't make any sense. But our show is, and we're gonna get into this because I have lots to say about it. Our show is very mechanic focused. It's very like, we do role playing. We're funny. We have characters. They're important. But our show, the main character really is Starfinder, and it's something that we have been working at for a long time, and we are basically doing everything that we can to make sure that we know as much as we can about Starfinder for the next year, so that when Starfinder 2 comes out, we can all be ready for it. And by putting on a nice primer coat of Starfinder First Edition, we can make sure that we hit that goal in the year and a half, whatever it's going to be.
Absolutely. And yeah, Starfinder is I have had a Starfinder GM who basically said, I never want to hear the phrase ship combat again.
Yeah, we don't do that anymore.
Wow.
So one of the things that we were going to bring up was Starfinder Enhanced, and this is the perfect time to talk about it. So the thing about Starfinder is it's an incredible game. For a variety of reasons. One of the reasons is that it uses Pathfinder First Edition as the basis for its rules, which is very fun. It means that you can make a very specialized, cool character who's good at one thing, but because they knew about that, they kind of have branched out and let you have a little bit more utility. So that's mechanically what Starfinder is. There is a rule for everything, but to its fault, there is a rule for everything, and there is a subsystem for every single type of thing that you want to do. There is regular combat. There is zero gravity combat. There is vehicle combat, which is different than a vehicle race, which is different than a vehicle chase. Then there's starship combat, which is different than starship chase. Then there's mech combat, which is different. So that we have like 20 different subsystems in one system, which is great because you get to have like a bunch of different things, and it's very expansive, and it has a rule for literally everything. The problem is that every time you flip a page, you're like, oh fuck, I gotta learn a whole new game. So hopefully in Starfinder 2, we will be able to kind of condense those rules into something that is much more easily transferable into all the different situations. But that is not a fault of Starfinder. It's great that way.
Yes, I have definitely seen the flowchart of like, because I have never done ship combat in Starfinder because every GM I've ever known is like, we don't do that here. I have seen the flowchart and like, there is a logic to it.
Oh yeah, we did manage to figure it out. I'm here to plug my show, so whatever. Yeah. Like the first episode of season 2, we have an hour, 2 hour long, 3 hour long starship combat, and we did it correctly, and it is good. Except that it's its own game. Like it is literally like X-Wing miniatures or whatever that game is. The role-playing game.
It's the mini game inside the video game. It's like
exactly.
The town builder inside the bigger
It's the gummy
RPG.
ship.
Yeah.
It's the gummy ship, and then I'll put it in terms that you all can understand.
Well, but one of the things in Starfinder Enhanced, or is it 2E? I don't remember.
No, it's enhanced. It's enhanced.
Cinematic ship combat.
Narrative spaceship combat. So they have done a very good job of taking the complicatedness of starship combat, which has an individual role for each character. They're all manning a station of the ship, a lot like you see the bridge of the Enterprise. Everybody's doing their thing, and taking that very complicated flowchart and making it into something that doesn't have nearly as many numbers. One of the cool things about starship combat is that there's 2 different kinds of armor classes, just like in regular combat. Like there's hit scan, which is for bullets, and then there's projectile, which is for tracking. So you're also, you have 2 ships, they're fighting each other, one shoots missiles at the other, and you have to figure out which way the missile goes, and a lot of other things, which is great if you have 2 ships. If you have 3 or more ships, it's impossible to keep track of. So Enhanced has kind of taken this and reduced it so that no number goes really above like 5 or 6, and it's very, very good. But everybody can still participate in the way that the way that they would like to.
Yeah, we my Starfinder game, because I got to join season 3 of the Emergency Power Podcast, which also comes out on Wednesdays. It's just a Starfinder Wednesday, and we do very much do the rules, but we are much more a narrative focused game. And Adam, our GM, likes us a lot and also just really likes Rule of Cool and loves it when we're like, okay, so I know this isn't how it works, but we also have a local, I don't want to call them a rules lawyer because they're not like a rules lawyer, but like a rules expert, Leslie.
Good.
Who's
a rules enthusiast.
Exactly. Leslie is like, I love Starfinder because there is a rule for everything. But that's also very restrictive. When I play rules light, there's no rule, so I can do what I want. And so, again, this is how you know you have a great player at the table. Because Leslie's like, according to the rules, you can't do that. But this is your game. And I'm like, that's the best. Get you one of those.
So it was really interesting. We just recorded an episode where we played Pirate Borg, which is the pirate hack of Morkborg that I played for the first time at PAX Unplugged. And it was incredible to go from a game that has a rule for everything to a game that has one rule, basically, which is you want to do a thing, you roll a dice. And that's pretty much it. There's very other little things that you have to take into account. But to that point, there is something about Starfinder beyond the rules that is so attractive. There is like the world of Starfinder is so vibrant and amazing that as soon as I read it the first time, I'm like, I'm never gonna play another game. Like, this is it. This is the game for me. Like, there's elves, they're in space. One of them has a laser shotgun. That we're done. Like, there's nothing else that we need to talk about. Unfortunately, the way that Dead Sundays plays games is we are very straightforward, logical rules people. So we want to build a character in this system, and we want to go up against um, a equal challenge rating challenge, or above, or slightly above or below, and have the numbers experience. And that's the show that we make. And it took me a while to figure out that that's the show that we were making. It actually took me until about 6 months ago. I don't actually remember when it was. And I was watching this show that I'm on right now. And you looked at the camera and you were like, if you are publishing your actual play as a bunch of friends playing a game at the table, don't do that. And I looked right back at you and I said, no, I'm going to do that. That's what I want to do. So that's what I'm going to do. And that's what we did. And it is a very specific kind of show. It's not the character-driven Critical Role fuckfest that a lot of other people are producing, which I think is great. I think
I love Critical Role. I
Right.
fell off campaign 3 because it didn't speak to me.
I understand Critical Role. I get it. It's really, really, really good, and I get why people like it. But it has created this kind of like distraction from the mechanics and development that are the framework of all of these games. So that's just the thing that we wanted to focus on. And I also realized this when I was playing a very, very good game that I did not like, which was called Baldur's Gate 3. And I know what I just said. Listen, I know what I said. I said what I said. I do not like Baldur's Gate 3. I know what I said.
I cannot play Tears of the Kingdom.
What?
I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
I don't want to build stuff. I don't want to do it.
I solved one puzzle with a balloon and a plate, and then that was it. That's the only thing. That's like, I did it. I beat the game. You're gonna make me do that 100 more times? No, thank you.
Yeah, I had 3 game developer. I had 2 Q&A, a game director, and a game developer for an hour at lunch trying to unstick me because I got literally stuck on Tutorial Island. It took 4 game devs,
That's incredible.
QA to unstick me.
See, and this is why I think that everybody who makes a video game needs to have at least 2 people that are outside of their normal QA rotation. That you have to give the game to a gamer.
Oh, I have no doubt. I know how much QA the Zelda games go through. I just got very unlucky. And before I could even build anything, went to an area where you had to build to get out.
Perfect. Yeah, so you didn't have any of the abilities that you needed to do to get out of there.
Like teleport back to anywhere.
Excellent.
This is great.
What an incredible way to break a game is to get too far. Did you know that you know how in Dark Souls you get
David
the Estus...
has entered the conversation.
Yeah, I see his face.
Look, and I understand that I've been looking very distracted, but I've been tinkering. So I'm listening. Obviously, I'm listening and paying attention because someone said they didn't like Baldur's Gate 3. Someone said they didn't like Twinkie Link. Things are happening, but I'm also like tinkering with StreamerBot.
David is running production. Yes.
But please continue your Dark Souls thought, and then you have to explain to me why you don't like Baldur's Gate 3. I'm not going to argue with you. We don't have 12 hours. I'm not going to argue with you. But please, I need to know.
This is just an anecdote about the first time I played Dark Souls. Did you know it is possible to leave the beginning of Dark Souls without the Estus flask?
Yes.
And I did that on stream the first time that I played Dark Souls. For the first like 10 hours, people were like, "Where's your potion?" And I'm like, "I got it right here." And they're like, no, those are the consumable ones. Where's your Estus flask? And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And apparently, if you just go to the left instead of the right and then never look at the destroyed wall, you can just miss one of the most important items in the game.
That's what I love about Dark Souls.
Which is great, because I would have played that whole game without it. But I know I have to answer for my crimes against Baldur's Gate. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I just want them to shut up. they refuse to stop talking constantly. They're just constantly all I want to do is stab a mind flare and then cast fireball. That's it. And they constantly are like, but I'm a good person and my god is bad. How does that work? And for every 5 seconds I have to like pull a guy out of a portal, or I have to pretend that I care about these 3 dialogue choices when I'm talking to the literal devil. Ever since I played like Mass Effect, I cannot get behind the idea of a dialogue tree, because every single dialogue tree is a tailored response that leaves so much in between that I'm like, I don't want to say any of these things. I don't want none of these things are what I want to say. What I want to say is like, yeah, that sucks. Can you leave? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't. Yes, I get it. You are a demon hunter and you're also sad about it for some reason. That's great. I really just want to see if my build works. That's all I care about.
See why you're a Starfinder lover.
Yeah. So and I understand, however, but the whole time I was playing Baldur's Gate 3, I was like, wow, this game's amazing. This is incredible. This is fantastic. Why don't I like this? Why am I not having a good time? I don't understand. So I that's when I eventually realized, like, oh yeah, because like this thing just isn't the thing that I want it to be, which is like totally fine.
Yeah. You're like, this game would be, it's like customer service. This job would be great if it weren't for all the customers. You're like, this game would be great if not for all the NPCs.
Right. So like every time that I play like, you know, like an older RPG, and they have like, I'm thinking of like Knights of the Old Republic right now, and they all have their like optional character side quests, or like mostly optional. Maybe you can get like an extra thing, and then fast forward to this now, I'm looking at this, I'm like, this is required, and part of the game is to manage the backstory of all these people, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
so
totally fair.
you've hit upon something that I've actively been thinking about in my time playing Baldur's Gate, and that is the combat, like, not sub-game, but like the combat system, and like the conversion of like D&D pen and paper into this is in the game, is better than I have seen in any other game, in any other execution. And it feels like there are 2 games in Baldur's Gate. There's the walking around and doing stuff, and then there's the combat.
Yep.
And I haven't played Final Fantasy Tactics, but people have told me that Final Fantasy Tactics is like, if you like Final Fantasy, but you don't like summoning Meteor and like all the other stuff that makes Final Fantasy interesting, then play Final Fantasy Tactics.
No, don't do that. Nah. Oh boy, you're gonna hate what I say about Final Fantasy Tactics.
Well, like I said, I haven't played it, but the idea of Larian could release a game that is just stripped of all story. Ribbon, I have been tinkering and trying to get to Black Box. That is on the list of things to do. But I'm trying. Okay, you know the 5% rule. You got to be 5% smarter than the thing you're trying to operate, and I'm nowhere near close to 5% smarter than OBS. But like, if you just stripped away all the other stuff, all the character stuff, all the walking around and talking to people, all the inventory met, and just like, you build a character, here's a combat scenario, go.
Yep.
They could release an entire separate game that would also sell like a gajillion copies.
Yeah.
And I think you would buy 4 copies.
Yeah, I really would. I think it's like, I just had this thought the other day. It's like, damn, you know what I would love? I would love like a game that is just the build tester. Like, you get to look at all the pieces, and then they're like, all right, you're gonna go in at this level, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna take this, and this, and then they're gonna make me go through a dungeon floor, and then I get, points or whatever, and they're like, okay, now you can do it again, but like different, in a different scenario. Like, that's what I wanted, and it's very. Another problem is that there's only so many levels in Baldur's Gate 3, and part of the fun of making a character is leveling them up, which isn't really, a strike on the game. It's just the way that tabletop RPGs are right now, anyway.
Yeah, and once you hit level 15 in 5e, you're basically punching gods. So Larian's like, we're not gonna
Yeah.
try to.
Yeah, like
But
someone said something like, "So how do you implement the wish spell in this video game?" And I'm like, right, like
don't.
there's so many things that after level 12, it's like, well, this doesn't just break the laws of the universe. It inverts space-time. It divides
Yeah.
by 0. We
you
can't
need
put
a
it into
human
this game.
being. Yeah,
Right.
you need a human being to mitigate that. You can't
You-
have.
You can't, you don't have a GM to be like, you know, the only thing that you could do is give them the option of saying, hey, you either cast this spell and it changes the world, or you don't cast this spell and it doesn't change the world.
You cast this spell and it can change the world in one of 3 ways. Pick your
Right.
dialogue option. Right.
Right back to my dialogue tree of just like, well, I don't want to do that. I want to turn him inside out. That's what I want to do with my wish spell.
That's what. If you've been on here, you've heard me complain. I'm like, my Thembo Bard has Speak with Animals, and then I have the amulet of Speak with Dead. I can't combine them and Speak with Dead animals.
Why not? And of course, you know, every GM is like watching the show like, God damn it, will you guys shut up? I can't do this anymore.
And again, it's like, I completely understand. And again, Larian, like, I will say, I'm enjoying Baldur's Gate 3. I am a roleplay TTRPGer. We will also talk about how, like, I built my Starfinder character based off of Starfinder lore. Like that, like, I build them together. But like, there's so much in Baldur's Gate 3 that I'm like, I'll bet you I can't do this. I can. So when you find that thing that especially combined Speak with Animals with Speak with Dead seems like such an obvious, that it's just like, why can't I do that? That's an obvious. And then the most weird out there thing you can do. I will also say, last night, I got to play in a TTRPG Battle Royale game where 7 TTRPG characters went in and only one was going to win.
Did you fight each other?
It was all PvP. It was a friend's birthday bash. It was set up like a Super Smash Brothers map, so we were in 2D. So there was no difficult terrain, like area of effect spells affected everything. Like,
that's great.
And of course, 2 people came in with Druid Barbarians.
Yeah. So my question is it 5e?
It was 5e.
So as someone who often makes their own stuff for a Starfinder or whatever I'm doing, I know that the rules for player characters don't match up as if they were supposed to fight each other. So I'm curious as to how much concession was given to non-optimized Druid Barbarian characters who weren't coming in raging.
So everyone knew that this was going to be PvP. It was also a birthday thing, so we know it was going to be silly and fun. Like, none of us were like everyone was kind of like, what can I do to make this worse for myself and everyone else, right? Like, how can I, and alliances very quickly formed. I kind of came in last minute, so I just came in with my Paladin of the Flying Spaghetti Monster, because I just had a level 5 character made. Here's the thing. That's an Oath of the Ancient. That comes with Moonbeam. So, one cast of Moonbeam lasts until I lose concentration, and any shapeshifter inside of Moonbeam rolls with disadvantage and loses their wild shape.
So you won, is what you're saying.
I ended up winning because there were 2 Druid Barbarians and a damn fear. I didn't mean to. I literally thought I was going to come in. But that was kind of that thought of like, this would have been a real, that could have been a really fun way to like, what is the optimized build for this? Because I accidentally, it's so easy to break 5e. If y'all don't know, it is so easy to break D&D 5e. When actually the character that became my Starfinder character, I was just like, I've got this character in my head, like what class-wise, what would this be, right? How would you get to this level of fucked up character, right? And I was like going through it, I'm like, oh, Rogue Monk, makes sense. And then I typed it up and I'm like, oh no, this breaks everything at level 6. Oh no, no one will ever let me run this.
That's the interesting thing about, and so in Baldur's Gate 3 we have an infinite, well, I should say we have an infinite -1 number of options, right? So then the -1 is the Speak with Dead and the Speak with Animals, that, you know, you can do anything you can possibly think of except for that one thing, and as soon as you hit that wall, it breaks the immersion.
Yeah.
And there is some like game design, like video game design theory about over limiting characters to not break that immersion.
Right.
Because once you hit that wall of like perceived freedom, then suddenly you're like, oh shit, yeah, well, now clearly this is a tunnel painted on a wall, like, So, but
gamers will bitch about anything though. Gamers are on about yellow paint again. The yellow paint is great, y'all. It is not immersion breaking. It just makes it easier for you to play the game.
Just go for just shut up. Just shut. Every gamer just needs to go to sleep. I'm tired of them.
Yes, take a nap.
I want you to write a poem and have somebody critique it in front of you. That's what I want you to do.
Hey, look, yo. Are you really condemning every gamer to that circle of hell? That seems.
No, I want you to bare your soul to somebody, and then receive criticism on it. That's what I want.
Not just criticism, death threats,
death threats. Yeah,
like
gamers be normal challenge
impossible.
Gamers, I do want to. I did have one thought this morning about the gamers, and there are those out there who complain about things like the attractiveness of women in video games, and then we'll also post things about not being able to talk to women, etc., etc. So I want to give you one piece of advice. This is my best piece of advice for how to talk to people that you find attractive. It is wear pants that fit. If you wear pants that fit with a belt, you will be 80% more confident than you were when you before you were wearing pants that did not properly fit. And I don't say that means they have to be tight. I mean they have to fit. They have to look like they belong on you. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, but the Chads, they wear their pants around their butts.
You're not them.
And here's the thing. You're not them. You're not that guy. Okay? You're not there yet. He figured it out. He figured out the first part and is on to step like 7. Just go to the store, get your mom's credit card, sacrifice the tendies for a week, and get a pair of pants that fit.
I'm going to tell you why I am personally attacked.
Oh, fuck. I didn't mean this at all.
Because I'm going to tell you about the last time I wore shorts out in public. And I don't mean like going over to my writing partner's house to like babysit, but I mean like being out amongst the public. Do you know comic book guy from The Simpsons?
Of course.
I went to see one of the Avengers movies. I think it was the first. And I wore like big old shorts with pockets. Mm-hmm. Like I wore. There's no way to say this without saying the cholo pant, like the cholo shorts. Like if you spend time in East LA, you see there is a giant Mexican dude wearing a particular pair of shorts, and
Dickies.
I was rocking those. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that's what I was on at the time. Except I showed up to the movie theater, and I saw a guy. And I was wearing a graphic tee and these shorts, and I was wearing a belt, and I had like proper shoes on and everything. But I showed up, and I spotted a guy who was wearing a graphic tee and them shorts, but he was comic book guy. Like you could tell that like he takes his monthly shower whether he needs it or not. You could tell somebody told him to like brush back his unruly horseshoe hair into a ponytail
because it's going out.
Yeah, right. And I was like, oh, never again. Never again. You can find me if I am on a yacht, if I am at the beach, no matter where I am going to be wearing long pants. I've been wearing long pants ever since.
Yeah.
Because I can't.
So far off the track.
Yeah.
Like I love every minute of it, but
I never said don't wear shorts or like just make sure that they fit.
But right, but like there is a step beyond. I will not be arrested in public for looking like this. That certain subsections of men need to take, like one step beyond slovenly, and like again. All my clothes fit. I wasn't wearing a too tight t-shirt, and I have like so many stories about dudes, especially at comic conventions. It's like, bro, I get it. They only had the XL, and you really wanted that shirt, but that doesn't mean you wear it in public.
At least cut the sleeves off, man.
Right. Like
That
wear
looks
it to
cool.
the gym. Wear when you're playing World of Warcraft. Don't wear it outside.
Excuse you. Hold on. I'm still playing World of Warcraft. Okay, hold on. Hold on.
Yeah, and
And
you
I
have
know
to
I
be
don't wear
dressed
sleeves while I
appropriately.
play. Yeah, no. We're hey, listen, we're 3-9 mythic, and it's the best we've ever been, and it's only because I joined. So I'm just saying.
One of my besties is deep
Dude,
into
we're
the
deep.
World of Warcraft PvP because like they have a new thing where it's like duos or something. Anyway,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and,
I don't. PvP is not my jam.
but just man, yeah, like gamers and other subsections of like men who don't fit into society properly, like conform. Not a lot, just a smidge.
Just enough.
Give them 10%, and you will not be on the outskirts of society afterward.
Yeah.
You won't be the goblin in the cave. Like you can make your Rick and Morty jokes amongst the normies, but you can't do it while wearing the Richard and Mortimer t-shirt while also thinking that you are Rick when you have not broken the space-time continuum. You can't be Rick until you have torn open a portal in time.
Most people that think they're Rick are actually just Morty's dad. I can't remember what the hell his name is.
Oh fuck yeah.
I don't know.
That's how forgettable this man. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what's your name doesn't matter. Yeah, you're replaceable in several universes, and turns out, yeah, there's a 1-to-1 in from Simpsons to you, and then it turns out. But we're gonna game design and choices and things. So what you're trying to do in Baldur's Gate 3 is Jerry. Thank you.
Oh man, he's the most generic, forgettable name too. Just perfect character design.
Heads up, everyone, we're going to lose captions for just a second, but they will be back.
Very strange that does that. But so you're trying to make a 1-to-1 of the tabletop RPG experience, and the tabletop RPG experience is the most open-ended problem solving that you can find, which is why it's so attractive.
We're getting captions set up. In the meantime, extremely off topic, but I've been playing Silent Hill 2 while watching the stream, and the section where you cross the lake has been going the entire time. I have just now realized that you're not supposed to just hold forward. Ask to join. Beg. Beg to join.
No, I'll just hit the button.
No, I have to beg to join because Kay in the middle of Black Hit.
He tells lies about me.
Right? Every time. Every time. If only Kay could escape.
So, I'm gonna backtrack us to what we were actually doing. David, you might. Okay, it's back. Excellent. I'm gonna backtrack us to what we were actually doing,
which is disparaging stand-up comedy. No.
Yeah.
That as well. Oh no, the game crashed when they got to the other side. I'm so sorry for announcing. So you were talking about, we've been having fun talking about like 5e is, and there's a bunch of rules light, but 5e as far as crunchy systems is actually pretty rules light.
Yeah.
Pathfinder, much less so. Starfinder, like Pathfinder 2e gives you a lot of freedom by giving you a lot of options.
Right.
Whereas Starfinder and Pathfinder 1e are far more 3.5 crunchy and more limited until your GM says, yeah, cool, I'll let you rule cool that.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in Starfinder where sometimes you're just like, we're just going to ignore that, man, because we're not going to have a good time if we don't.
Like I said, I have every Starfinder GM I have ever played with has been like, we're just not doing ship combat. Yeah. I don't want to hear about shields on ships. Like if we do, I think that was one quote was, if we do starship combat, there's no shields on ships. Shields are only for players.
Shields, regenerate and they can be rebalanced, and it's a very cool system, but it unfortunately kind of drags and gets bogged down in regeneration and numbers, and there's a lot going on, and it is definitely
David has never played Starfinder, so I'm watching him.
Oh man, boy.
David has heard a lot about my Starfinder adventures.
It is a very complicated system of tracking a lot of things at the same time. Ammunition, batteries. Each shield has a different quadrant. Each gun can only shoot in a certain quadrant. Yeah, it's a lot.
Look,
but
everything that you're telling me says that I should run a 6-hour stream that is one combat.
You could
easily.
Like, not even you literally just need like 4 ships, and it would take you 6 hours to finish it.
And so I joined Emergency Power, and okay, I often tell people like characters spring into my brain fully formed, and that is mostly true. Like I said,
in the middle of a tantrum.
Yeah, Soul originally came to my mind as like a 5e character that I was trying to find a class for, but like a lot of details of the character get shaped by the game for me. And so when I kind of had the seed of the character that became Soul, again, kind of started in 5e, I realized it was broken. No GM in their right mind would ever let me play it. So I kind of went like, you need to sit down and be quiet because there's no place for you. Just go. And then when I was invited, hey, Sonic, how are you doing? Shadow Domain is awesome. So I knew I was joining the Emergency Power podcast. I was joining at like level, I think we were joining at level 5. I think it was a high-ish, not super high, but high-ish, especially for never having played Starfinder before. And I was kind of going through, and I was like, maybe this will fit. And I knew I wanted to play a character who liked people but kind of kept them at a distance, because it was a very found family, close-knit group, and they were kind of needing someone to shake it up. So I'm like, how can I bring someone in that can add some spice without breaking this group? And I was looking at Technomancer because that's just really cool. And so I was like, okay, they're gonna have tattoos because of the spell storage. So I'd like started building all of this, and then I went, hey Self, you've never actually played a full caster, ever. Do you really want to start an entirely new system at level 5 as a full caster? Is that really the life you want to make for yourself? I'm like, And then as I was going through, still kind of playing with this, trying to figure out how am I going to build this character, I stumbled on to the Solarian, which again, keeps people, like the idea of keeping people in orbit. Solarians, for those of you who don't know, they're kind of like a paladin. They're like a space paladin, and they alternate between photon and graviton, light and dark. So a lot of like gravity themes, keeping people in orbit. And so a whole lot of that character's personality ended up being shaped just by the class of the Solarian. Of like, you start combat and you attune to photon or graviton, light or dark, and you can you wake up every morning and you get boost to certain skills if you meditate, and you can pick which side you're leaning towards. And so that's one of the things I've often said. Okay, I have to be careful how I say this because the internet can get mad at me. I am not a very big fan of the Powered by the Apocalypse system.
Hold on. I just wanted to, no, the internet cannot get any madder than when I said I didn't like Baldur's Gate 3. So like, you're good, dude. You do not.
Like shots have been taken at Tears of the Kingdom and Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm ready.
This is fine. For a long time, I felt like I didn't really like Rules Light, and then I realized I just don't really like how Powered by the Apocalypse treats the bell curve of a D6.
I don't think I've ever played it, so this is all new to me.
D20s are very swingy, and I kind of like that swinginess. Like, we play Baldur's Gate 3 without Karma.
Okay.
Oh yeah, without the karmic dice, and we've rolled 3 1s in a row. Yeah. Because the karmic dice, so for people who haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, there's an option, because developers were like 20% chance a 5% chance per roll doesn't necessarily feel fair, because you could just roll really low for like hours.
And we're like, bring it, I want the real experience.
Yeah, so they have this thing where it's just like, oh, well, if you roll really shitty for a long time, then we'll artificially inflate your rolls for a little while, so it doesn't feel like the long dick of probability is fucking you down right now. And we're like, no. We can take it.
My last Pathfinder game, I rolled a nat 1, a 2, a nat 1 and another 2
But
back to back to back to back. Give it to me in Baldur's Gate.
Here's the thing. In 5e, if you roll a 1 on a skill check, you don't automatically fail.
Right.
Like, that's never been part of the rules. So I don't know why that, because that is the way that people think the rules work. So then that got implemented into the game, and so the whole time I'm like, why do I have a 5% chance no matter what I'm doing to automatically fail? I love the part where I automatically win, but there was no option to turn that, like, there's no option to make it work the regular good way. That's one of I have a lot of thoughts about 5e. One of the thoughts I have about 5e is that they took Dungeons and Dragons and went, hey, what if we made it really easy to make a bunch of podcasts out of this? And they did, with advantage and disadvantage. Advantage and disadvantage is the most amazing narrative system that has ever been created. You read the 5e book and you're like, damn, they made this so that they could use this as a framework for actual plays. However, I again do not understand how this 5% chance of whatever rule. That's another reason I didn't like it. I know we're not. I know. We gotta get away from it, or I'm gonna get.
No, listen.
It's fine.
Listen.
It's fine. That's what we're here to do.
But so, hold on. Somebody in chat asked what my favorite Starfinder house rule is, and this was adapted from something else. When you heal yourself, two. It's all about healing. Is one, due to the standard rules, using a healing serum on yourself would be a full action because it's one to grab it from your belt, one to use it on yourself. However, using a grenade is a standard action, which doesn't really make any sense. So if you're grabbing it from your belt and then using it, it's the same thing. So what I decided was that if you use a healing serum on yourself, it's a standard action. Anything else is a full action the way it usually works. Additionally, if you heal yourself and you roll a 1, you are allowed to re-roll it. Because it just sucks.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than rolling 2d6 and you get 2. It just sucks. Because, which was adapted from my friend's rule of when you're leveling up in Dungeons and Dragons and you roll hit dice, which you don't do in Starfinder. If you roll a 1, you're allowed to re-roll it. A healing grenade, I will have to. Zib Beverage wants to know your location. I have to write down healing grenade.
Because that is one of the things in that's fun in Baldur's Gate is you could chuck a healing pot at someone else and heal them. Another great thing that they did in Baldur's Gate was making potions a bonus action. That's because it sucks. It sucked. We have had this whole we've gone round and round and round about David has a whole rant about it's like 6 ounce, like it's a shot, it's not a problem, and then someone finally pointed out and it made it go like, okay, it makes sense. We're not going to use it, but it makes sense because technically they're a magic item. And you have
that was me.
To act. It was you?
No, that was me. Yeah. Yeah, I remember I was in the chat.
That makes sense. Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, well, it's a magic item. The rules say a standard action to use a magic item, and you have to get the item. So that's, that's fair. That makes sense. I still do them as a bonus action because it's more fun. Yeah, because you got it. Like if you use it on somebody else, it's different.
Right.
But if you use it on yourself, you should be able to just kind of pop it or smash it on your face or wolfwood that shit or whatever. You should be able to use it very quickly.
Rex says if a centaur throws a healing grenade up a flight of stairs. But yeah, we had a whole thing about in our game, one of our characters has quick draw.
Yes.
So he was like, "Can I quick draw my healing potion?"
Yes.
And GM's like, "Yeah, that worked." So I feel like in Starfinder, your grenades and your weapons you have holsters for. Just give me a healing. I'm a melee class. Give me the option to put a healing potion on a thing. I will incorporate it into my art.
You do. It's literally called a gear clamp, and it's an item, and it's in one book. It's 2 sentences in a 7,000 sentence book. Gear clamp. There's another one called a uniclamp, which is different. But a gear clamp is literally it is a carabiner that clips onto your armor so that you can get the thing that you need, and that's it.
Is a uniclamp something that a Gith Yankee might use as a chest? You know it.
I wish I could get that joke. I don't understand.
I will send you a YouTube short of David freaking out in a Baldur's Gate scene. It is very funny. But yeah, because we had the way we were balancing before the level, I was just slightly over my wealth for the start, for where we're supposed to start, and my the amazing Leslie, who's very precise, is like, if you did 2 healing potions level 1 instead of the level 2, you know, and they're more economical for money, and I'm like, look, Mix, I have damage resistance, so I don't get punched in the face during combat because it doesn't matter because I damage resist everything. I'm just a Solariana here taking hits to the face, and I need to be able to heal myself. That extra bit of healing makes a big difference.
So what I think is really interesting about what you said about your Solarian is that you started with this concept, and then you read about the Solarian, and you're like, oh, this is actually like this. Solarians are interpreted differently by literally every single person. It has it like I looked at a Solarian and I went, that's Goku. That's a Goku. Right there. That's a Goku. That's what I want to make. My Starfinder Society character is a Dragon King Goku. That's what he does. He flies and then he punch. That's what he does. It's great. Yes. But then I have like my friend Ian, who's in the show with us, who introduced me to Starfinder. He's like, yeah, no, they're Jedi. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, they're the Jedi. And so like every single person that looks at Solarian is like, oh, that has some other interpretation of it, which is what is amazing to me about Starfinder, because they've made this kind of both open-ended and very specific world for you to go romp around it.
Well, and like Solarians are also kind of like, as far as the classes go, they've got the most lore. Like you've got the Cos Monasteries, and there's a couple like canon ones, and then even then, like, I kind of built it out and went, so I don't know anything about the Cos Monasteries. Is this fine? And my GM's like, yep, that's fine.
Yep.
I'm like,
because Solarian powers are also something that just happen to people sometimes.
Yeah.
They just go, oh, I can do this now. Well, I can explode.
It doesn't.
For early season 3, like we ran across an NPC who was not a Solarian, but like popped out an energy blade, and my character's like, oh, that's a Solarian thing. Uh-oh. And part of the mystery has been, why does this kid have this ability? And can this become a Solarian? What the heck?
So, and I think that, so we're going to get onto a very different topic real quick, is GMing and running games for people who know a lot about the game. You have to keep surprising them. Like if you're going to run a game for your 5e friends, I mean, I still play 5e. I play 5e once a month with my high school friends. It's great. We have a great time. But if you're going to run a game for them, you have to do something that is not like too obvious. Like you can't just have them go fight like, you know, a beholder or like even like Medusa, and because they're gonna be like, oh well, we can't look at it. And that's like 90% of the fight is not being able to look at it. So you gotta say, oh, it's a Medusa, but she's red, and they're like, well, what the fuck is this? That's not a page in the monster manual. I don't know what that is.
We have a whole episode on like how to especially like combat encounters, but how to play with people who are like just deep in the lore, where they just know it. Because for our for one of the home games that Kay and I play in, that I GM, everybody has a lot of experience playing 5e, and there's even like one of our players has like sat down and read the monstrous manual, sat down and read the DMG, sat down and read the PG, just the whole thing. So they and so one of my favorite moments in those games is, I'm like, okay, so you walk up and it looks like this, and these things are happening, and they're like, but what is it? And there are too many people who are like, and then a beholder is there. And it's like, no, you gotta just, and then they'll go, oh, I think I know what this is, so I cast blank, and it's like, and there's no reaction, and they're like, why not? It's supposed to, and one of those ways is like reflavoring the type of monster it is. And so like there was this whole saga about spiders, and can they talk to spiders?
That clip went out today.
Yikes. And
I heard you were upset about it.
Ooh.
David loves when I speak spider.
Oh,
I can't
man.
speak with animal, and I speak with spider.
And so I had to come up with a way whereby the players couldn't cast speak with animal and then speak with spiders because the spiders they were running into were smart enough to understand human speech or to be spoken to. And so I was like, okay, they have this going on and they have this disease and the disease isn't natural, it's magical, so they're constructs and they're not necessarily under their own control. And so like you can change how like you could reflavor the monsters because what if they're starving, or what if they're diseased, or what if they're protecting something, or what if they're terrified. Like there are all sorts of things that can change the behavior of these monsters without necessarily uh, uh like impacting their stat sheet. Like
First
in a
campaign of Godplane, we threw a dragon at people,
Yep.
but it was a dragon made out of mist. Because it was a nightmare plane made of mist.
Because it was made of mist because fuck you. Because
Right.
I don't respect you.
It's made of
Right.
mist, so you will mist it. I just gotta say, Mimics and Misfits says it's a smell holder. If you sniff it, you are affected. And Rex says, I heard they knows what they are doing.
No,
Oh,
no, no.
My God.
We don't do that. We don't do that sort of thing on Dead Sundays. We no. If you make too bad of a pun, I don't think it's ever come up, but like now it's gonna. If you make too bad of a pun, you're gonna take damage.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Like
see-
what's
see,
the
in-
opposite of
in-
inspiration? You get nuked from orbit.
Unfortunately, it's disadvantage.
in emergency power, if you make a bad pun, you get a popsicle, which is we have space
Damn.
popsicles, which are inspiration.
Space popsicles, yeah. You know, popsicles, but they're in space. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
it's
one of the
special,
fun
and they
parts.
don't melt in space. Your popsicle can't melt.
No, because it's from they figured that out.
Yes.
It's from the future. It's a space popsicle.
But
That's
yeah,
the whole
kind of like
point.
what you were saying about how it's really. I love rules light. I love crunchy systems. One of the problems I have with rules light is that I sometimes feel like I'm playing a video game with floaty controls. Like I don't know exactly how to fit into the world. I don't know exactly where the hitbox is to interact with
Yep.
the NPC. And with a more crunchy, more lore world, like I can be like, oh, here's a thing I can anchor to, and then I can throw a backstory at my GM and go, does this work? And the GM says, we'll change this, or hey, that's not how that works. And great, cool. Now I know what my limits are. And now I can play within the bounding box of the Smash Brothers. Like if I go off the screen, I come back over here. Whereas with the rules light, I'm kind of like, where?
Right.
Where?
It's the difference between destructible terrain and hit X to break box.
Yes.
Like having something that is very clear that you can interact with, and you know that like, okay, well, I have a hacking skill, so that means that I can hack computers. That's the whole point. But if you have a one that is like general computery, and you're like, well, I don't know, we're a rules light system, we're in a bank, like what can I really do with that? It creates this like they're very fun. Rules light are very fun because they're a great way to introduce people to the concept of role playing games, because they can just kind of do whatever they want, and you're like, yeah, sure, roll a whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But once you kind of like, you're like, okay, well, I really want to do something with it, then you're like, well, I need some kind of structure. I need, or maybe you don't.
There are definitely those who don't. And I have definitely been in. I enjoy rules light, especially for one shots or really short things. But once anything starts getting longer, by the very nature of rules light, the story and the world itself starts kind of warping and changing to fit with what you're doing in the moment.
Right.
Which can start, like, I have a hard time maintaining a consistent character in that, because like my backstory has suddenly changed because we all just suddenly agreed this thing is really cool and now it's canon. But that also means that it doesn't fit with what I'd originally written anymore.
Right. Right. So now you're just like, oh, well, then now, like, why do I have this ability that I gained from this thing that now we've changed? Like, how do I keep going with this plan that I've sort of made, or even just this basis that I've made? And now we're in kind of like this wishy-washy land that doesn't have anything written down. I will say that Starfinder is not a game that you want to show to your friends. Starfinder is a game that you have to find your way to yourself, because I tried to run a game. I ran the Great Grav Train Robbery, which is a one-shot module. It's very good. And I was like, oh, here's your characters, to a bunch of 5e people. And they were like, what does literally all of this mean? Because I forgot that each character in Starfinder has 3 options per level for things that they can do, whereas in 5e you get to make a choice like every other level. And then for Starfinder, every 2 levels you get a feat or some shit. Like so having this like tome of abilities that only one character can do is like impossible to teach 3 people at once. So if you're interested in Starfinder, you should do something like watch an actual play. Maybe something called Dead Sundays. But my point is that if you like Starfinder, like I tried to show my friends and we had a good time, but it really I played it with my partner, and in the second session, the next time that she came, she had a notebook of 3 pages worth of stuff that she had to look up to properly play a Vanguard.
Have I shown you my cheat sheet for my Starfinder character?
I don't think so.
I've played this character for over a year, and I finally was like, well, heck it, I am making, I'll put it in chat for folks. I made a Google Doc, and I did this for my Pathfinder character as well, so I could be like, and so especially with Pathfinder, I was playing a swashbuckler. So
That's cool.
You have panache, and when you generate panache, you get a whole bunch of things, and so I use conditional formatting. So I'm like, panache is on, I click this, a bunch of things light up, and I know I have this. Panache is off, I don't have it. Because there's so, and so again, I play Emergency Power with Leslie, and then we played in a short campaign run by Mimics and Misfits in chat, and Leslie played a Solarian. Could not have been more different from mine, in that like my characters run up and bash stuff and occasionally go supernova, right? Like I went pretty much full melee. Leslie played like support control with low, like not a good fortitude, stayed in the back, put down effects, buffed people. Couldn't have been any more different.
Yeah.
Really
so it having like that really like that is the Final Fantasy Tactics job system, like Starfinder and the deep multi-class tree and the 19,000 choices that you get to make, and then you get into like, do you want an archetype? Do you want a free archetype? Do you want to read another fucking rule book? You do because you love it, and but it has like this wealth of options, but unfortunately, a wealth of options is also very intimidating to people, as it should be. Like it's not, it's very. The thing I'm trying to get back to is that like I understand why people play Dungeons and Dragons, why they play 5e.
If you're trying to get into Starfinder, look up Hephaestus. It's just the best.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Build your character in.
I build. I write modules for Starfinder sometimes too. I post them on Starfinder Infinite through DriveThruRPG, which is Paizo's branded third-party thing. And I use, if I have to make a new enemy for the module that I want to write, I just stat it up in Hephaestus and then double check my work. But like it is such an amazing tool that when we went from Roll20 to Foundry, I had everybody rebuild their character in Hephaestus so that we could double check to make sure that
that's what we do. We build it in Hephaestus and we port it into Foundry.
Yeah, and so because Hephaestus is better than Foundry and Roll20 for making and keeping track of a character, because it just is, because it's the only thing that it does. It's not.
I can't speak to Roll20 in Foundry, but if you were playing Pathfinder 2e, like I understand it now. I had someone say like they started playing Starfinder Pathfinder and then they went back to 5e and they'd like be like another level up where nothing matters.
Where nothing matters.
Where I get no choices, right? And after having played Starfinder Pathfinder, I'm like, oh, I get it, except it is crushing, especially if you're coming in at a higher level. Like, it is crushing for choice. So Path Builder, I've also heard Hero Forge is great for this, but Path Builder is such a great way to build your character in Pathfinder 2e. And even then, I had that, we had Roll20. I know Roll20 is right now actively working on.
They're working on it.
Character sheets. So
They're doing
if
it.
you have feedback, please do it. But again, I built one of these sheets for my swashbuckler because I was like, you have so many options. You have so many tools in your kit. And especially in Roll20 right now, if you click on the name of the thing, it puts it in chat. You have to specifically find the arrow and click down the arrow to see what the thing does. If you click the wrong thing, it ends up in chat and everyone's like, oh, that's what you're planning? It's like, stop, don't look!
But I will say that if you're playing 5e and you're like, oh my god, I leveled up and nothing happened, I would just do what we do, which is my friend is running a fantastic hex crawl fast level campaign. Every 100 experience, you level up, and you get experience for basically everything. You go a square, you get an experience. You beat a guy, you get 5. You pick up a piece of loot, you get 3. So we've gone up like 4 levels already, and then it's fun. Because then you're suddenly like the concept that you have in your head is finally being built because you can make all the decisions that you've been planning on. Because in 5e you get to make like 4 choices, really, like and they're all dictated by the choice you make at 3rd level or 2nd or for arcane for wizards and stuff. But having that like fast level up and only playing once a month makes it like really exciting because you're constantly like, oh, I got this, oh, I got this, oh, I got this, and it kind of alleviates some of that.
It's also why so many campaigns that we've seen, especially on the actual plays, are never like under level 3. Like,
under level 3 is terrifying in a not fun way.
And
so
like with for what, a wizard's HP, like a strong gust of wind, and you're done. But also like we like Kay and I, we don't run anything under level 5. 5 is like the basement.
A couple level 3s, but yeah.
Yeah, but we're not gonna anytime soon because what do you have to do? I attack. Dope.
Starting at level 5, so that then you can quickly level them up to level 6. They're like, okay, I've got to build the character. I know what I can do. Ooh, I get goodies now. That's the good feel.
So I will say that it is funny to look at like pre-level 3 as level 1 and 2, just like this is like meat grinder, old school role playing, high lethality, like you're not gonna make it style of getting it together. And then as soon as you get past level 3, maybe maybe even at 2, probably if you're a fighter, you're suddenly just like, oh yeah, I'm unkillable and I can't lose. Everything's great. I mean, whatever. Fireball, yeah, I do backflip, cool. I'm gonna quick grab my spell scroll. In the last game that we played, I gained like 3 fast things, and now I can like use 2 items in a turn or what, and like grab another one. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. But to David's point about what am I gonna do this turn? Oh, I attack. That never really goes away. That is kind of the whole. I mean, if you have a martial character, most of what you're going to be doing is going to somewhere and then attacking. And to bring it back to the thing that I have spent the last 3 years studying, Starfinder, even though it gives you each character a multitude of options and abilities to choose from, there are also just base things that you can do without any training. Like you can besides like grapple and like charge and things, you can provide covering fire. You can just shoot at a guy so that he'll be like, whoa, and he will gain or like he gains a debuff to his attack so that like your one friend doesn't take as much damage. Or harrying fire, which means that like you shoot at them and their AC goes down. And trying to explain all of those things to a person who was just handed a character sheet for a 5th level character that has 10 abilities plus this other list of abilities that is in the combat section of the 450 page rulebook is daunting. And I understand that it does take a little bit, but I promise you it's good. It's real good.
Well, and I remember explaining to David that I'm like, I'm a melee class, right? Like I built, like you can build Solarians different ways, but I built a bonk, right? I'm gonna go in that. I'm highly mobile, for having a limited land speed. I run up and I bonk and I get in the person's face. That's what I do. And yet every 3 rounds I can just do 10d6 of fire damage.
Yep,
That's
you just
so
explode.
much damage. That's so much damage.
So
it's 1d6 plus Solarian level.
So, I will say though that the scaling and the numbers in Pathfinder and Starfinder are vastly different than they are in 5e. Like a DC in 5e kind of caps out at like 20, 22, and then like once you're at level 4 or 5 in Starfinder, they start getting up into the 30s and 40s, and that's just normal. It's just the way the math works.
Yeah.
It's the way the maths out.
If you roll below a 30 at this point in our Starfinder campaign, it's like, oh, that wasn't very good.
Yeah, it's like, what was the point? Ugh.
Also, so like something I've been thinking about, because like the age-old debate between marshals and casters, and I love marshals for a lot of reasons, and you know, like you said, like a lot of what you do in 5e is like you go and then you bonk, except like after a certain level you at least get more than 1 bonk per turn, because 1 bonk, like, you got a 1d10 weapon, and you roll a hit, and then you hit, and then you roll a 1. And then you sit there for the next 15 minutes while everybody else goes. Like, that's gross. That is disgusting. But then you get into, like, superiority die. And, like, and one of my favorite classes is Monk, because Monk will look at somebody, call down Meteor, like get Sephiroth on the phone and be like, hey, you got another one of those laying around? The meteor will come down from the sky, impact, and then the monk will look at them and go, oh yeah? Pow! And just walk up and punch.
Stunning strike.
And it's like, I think, like you said, your character is like Goku. He flies and he punches. And like, you know, also like your Superman-esque characters, where it's like fly, mostly indestructible, does a lot of punching. I love that shit, especially like in the future, or like when there's like magic where you could like summon a dragon, or like split open the earth, and then there's a guy who's like, yeah, but I'm gonna punch you really
I'm gonna punch the shit out of that guy.
And like, you know, it's tough to balance, especially at higher levels. And again, there's a lot of debate about like, what do marshals have over like level 16 compared to I rewrite the laws of the universe as a wizard or sorcerer. But also I just fly up in the air and punch you is something that is and will forever be appealing to me. Like, one of the coolest things is the monks that it's deflect projectiles or return projectiles, but it's like, oh, you shot that at me? Well, I caught it, and then I turned it around and I threw it right back at, like, that is awesome.
Well, I think too, David, you would really like Starfinder, yes, Pathfinder even more, because there's a lot of feats and things you can do that have a lot of like teamwork mechanics, which is what I really enjoy. In fact, one of the games that is no longer running that I played in will hopefully come back from hiatus. But we used an Into the Breach system, which was a weird, interesting. It was a board game first, and they made it into a TTRPG. You flip cards instead of rolling dice, and the suits do different things. But it had incredible teamwork mechanics, to the point where, like, one of my character had like a leadership feat where they could flip their initiative first, and then everyone else could decide, I'm either going to flip my own or I'm going to go on their initiative. And Pathfinder has a lot of really cool stuff, but it's like Sentinel in D&D. Like, oh, you hit someone other than me? Like, those kinds of crowd controls, those kinds of, I really enjoy that kind of mechanic, and Pathfinder definitely does it better than 5e.
So it's interesting because, like, in 5e, when you level up, or when you get to, I think it's level 4, right? And you get your ability score improvement, or you can pick a feat.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me because, like, I look at the list of feats. One, it's small. But 2, there's like, oh yeah, you get a little bit better at this, and then you get a little bit better at that. Or there's just like a game-breaking, like, sharpshooter feat.
You get
like,
this feat plus 1 to something else.
Yeah, and that's like a middle of the road feat. Like that's just like a general thing. And then like you're like, oh yeah, but I'll take Sentinel so that every time I make an attack of opportunity, which is every time, and I hit them, which is every time, they stop moving. And it's this, it's like
Yeah, I just got distracting glare on my Solarian. I've spent an entire season going like, hit me, not them, just like shouting and taunting the enemy. And now I could be like, I'm melee, so I'm up on them anyway, right?
Mhm.
Like, I don't have to move. As a move action, I just glitter a little bit. And they then have a -2 to attack anyone other than me.
Yep.
Until my next turn. Like, mwah.
There is our soldier and our operative both took a feat called Target of Opportunity.
Yes, and if two people have it, it's
Yeah.
even,
So they're so used to fighting with each other in a team that when one of them makes an attack of opportunity, which is a lot because that's what he does, he can even like follow them in a guarded step and immediately provoke another one. When he gets one, she gets one too. So now I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know, like they're just like, oh yeah, we just killed the guy. It's like, no, stop.
That was my guy. I had plans for him.
Yeah, like that was the main bad guy.
The Matt Mercer standing at the stage at the end of the campaign 2 live play, going like, yeah, he was supposed to live. He was supposed to get away and go on to be a big bad.
So okay,
got him.
Here's the thing. Unless they hit your big bad guy with overwhelming power, he's allowed to get away. You're the DM. You can just say, oh yeah, he actually had like 3 more hit points. Like it's fine. Like, you know, people, like we've heard every single hero story. The bad guy's gonna get away sometimes, and if they're upset about it, they can go be mad about it somewhere else and then come back, and because they don't have anybody else to play with.
Also, GMs, if it's a throwaway monster, if it's a throwaway encounter, and the someone just did something really cool and he has 1 hit point, just let him die. We'll give you that one hit. We'll give you just let him die. Just let someone do it on the cool. Like
you know, spoiler alert, like a lot of those, like, oh, you had exactly enough. They didn't have exactly enough, man. They just really, they wanted you to have a good time. Yes. That's what happened.
Do you watch Dimension 20 at all?
I do not, but I like it.
So we're coming out spicy on main today. I am not a huge fan of the fantasy high setting. I did not enjoy campaigns. I didn't really enjoy campaign 1. Campaign 2 was a little bit better. They're doing campaign 3 of Fantasy High. It's the junior year where they're in like fantasy high school adventuring.
Yeah,
I'm not into the high school thing anyway.
I don't like adults being children. There's something about it that really skeeves me out.
I just don't like children, full stop. Like I never liked
okay.
Potter. Like
that's a little different.
Adult is completely wasted on me. Like come back when you're 18 and you matter. I don't care.
If you can't vote, stop fucking talking to me.
You're not, your brain is not done yet.
If you can't follow me into the bar, then we have nothing to talk about.
Exactly. But Brennan Lee Mulligan is very fucking funny.
Yeah.
And so he opened the season like in the middle of a huge fight, like they had just been through a huge thing, and so there's NPCs that had never been seen before, but everyone's like, that guy. And they beat the big bad, and then he deliberately had a field full of people that they had to mop up because he's going incredibly meta. So it's like both the characters and the players are like, we gotta kill you too, and then like a wave of reinforcements came in and they're like, go away, the fight's over. And then he goes on, and spoilers, y'all, these are big spoilers, but hey, Kato, the enemy, or one of the big conflicts in this, is there's a rival party that have been grinding low-level monsters for 3 years. They've only ever fought 3 monsters that are in the beginner area. And they've just been grinding XP. And so the enemy this season is XP leveling while everyone else is doing milestone leveling.
Yeah. Which is another great, like if you're gonna run a game, just don't use XP, because they're gonna try to abuse it. They're gonna try their best to go grind out some orcs before they fight the super orc. Don't let them do it. If you have a narrative planned that you need them to get to, just don't let them do it.
And reward people for really cool roleplay. Reward people for really cool thinking. do that. That's more rewarding than, oh, we're gonna go kill a bunch of fucking gabos.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the problem with XP is like you get people like Kay, where
What did I do?
Kay and a couple of people be like, all right, so this is an encounter, right? And we're like, yeah. It's like, okay, so if we overcome the encounter, we get XP, right? And you're like, yeah. And it's like, okay, well, Roxy's gonna throw him over the wall, and then they're gonna unlock the door. And so, go over the wall, unlock door. It's like, I'm like, great. That means you don't have to fight like the 4 guards that are in front of the door. And then they'll look at me, and I'm like, so we got the XP for getting in, right? And I'm like, yeah.
No, well, no, Kay's right.
They're made out of XP though, and so it's just like sneak attack.
Oh,
like,
I see. Yeah, you can't double dip. No.
You didn't have to fight them, and they're like, but they are XP pinatas, and we will slap them until the XP falls out.
I will do what is narratively interesting until it is in the interest of the game for me to do the mechanical break shit. I will make the big narrative character moment. I will chase that. It's like, oh, we got to kill those 2? Cool.
But speaking of rewarding for good roleplay, I think that's a very important thing that we are now trying to, because I did say up front that like Dead Sundays is very like mechanics based because of what Starfinder is. Starfinder has a really deep, expansive setting that's amazing, but it is also accompanied by an extremely equally deep mechanics as well. So one thing that you asked me earlier that we never got back around to was what Starfinder Enhanced was. Because the current season of our show is called Dead Sundays Enhanced, because there was a book released in October called Starfinder Enhanced. And a lot of people were like, oh my god, am I going to have to convert my character? Is it like a whole new system I have to learn? Is it, Dungeons and Dragons 3.5?
Photon Revelations.
Yeah.
Photon Revelations were really bad. I broke cycles, so I was like, I don't have any of my cool gravity stuff.
All it is another rule book of cleaned up and expansive rules. So one of the things we already talked about was narrative spaceship combat, which really simplifies a lot of it to just kind of a back and forth rolling and describing what is happening.
Boo! Crunchy! 12-hour ship combat, go!
Rex and I are going to make you run a crunchy Starfinder 1E
and I will suffer.
Combat, and I am so excited.
Endlessly.
Oh my god.
Especially the one time I played Scum and Villainy, and I was trying to do the captain's rolls, and I couldn't roll above a 5. You will suffer for my rolls, David.
Yeah,
you will feel the pain.
Our envoy, who is like sort of a bard, they're the charisma character, is like always in the captain's seat, like trying to do captain's things, and because you have to hit a DC, sometimes they just like don't do anything, and it's very like, why would you make this like this? Like, stop it. So they did a once over and a consolidation of Starship combat, and it's great. But one of the other things that they did is they all characters have a resource called resolve points, and they're sort of like hero points, kind of.
They replace death rolls.
Yeah, so you have like these resolve points that right now I think they have like 9 or 10 of them. They're level 9, and you use them to use certain abilities, and mostly you use them to not die. That's a big part of it, is not dying. But as you start to level up, you find your class has more and more uses of them. However, in Starfinder Enhanced, they have a whole list of things that you can spend resolve points on, which include like expanded criticals, like instant reload, stuff like that. So what we're doing now is, since there's so many more cool ways to use resolve points, it is very important, I think, to reward your players who are now using this resource more with resolve points in turn, from either using them well or from being a good little boy, girl, or non-binary fellow in the setting that you've set, which is really important for the overarching narrative of your adventure, is to make sure that everybody knows what they're doing.
Yes, and that is, we've talked this a couple times, part of problem I have with Powered by the Apocalypse and certain rules like games is that I'm like, I feel it's very hard to succeed. You only succeed on you only like.
The only pure success.
This isn't true. There's a lot. If you roll above a 3, it is a success. But for 3, 4, and 5, it is a success with a consequence.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be like. They're not all supposed to be negative consequences. You can succeed and then have like, oh, you notice this other thing that might help. But no GM runs it that way. Yeah,
right. No, they like a consequence is not like a positive thing. Like if somebody says the word consequence, like it's bad. It's a bad thing. I had just played Eldritch Automata, which was in its Kickstarter phase, which unfortunately did not make it, but we're going to do it. But it was based on the Year Zero engine, which had a similar. Actually, I shouldn't say that. It didn't have a success with a cost, total success, or total failure system. It basically had you either pass or you fail, and that's it. And it doesn't impede your progress. That was the big part. Was that the Year Zero system has this thing where it says, whatever is in front of you, regardless of how it works out, the story continues. So if you are falling down a hill and you roll to, catch yourself and you fail, you just get to the bottom of the hill. There's no like, oh, okay, well maybe I'll do this. Maybe you're at the bottom of the hill. Regardless of what happens, the story keeps going. So there is no try again. You get one chance. You get one roll. Not everybody gets the roll. That's it. You get one. Right. And so in that way, it kind of takes, it gives you a better option for putting in consequences. Because you can say, okay, well, you failed, but you have to continue. So while you go through this, you cut your leg on a piece of metal, and now you take this much damage.
Yeah. Orbital Blues has a similar, like, you get to roll. Not everyone gets to do it. Not everyone, if you don't succeed, don't get to do it again. Shadowmane says, in Cypher System, we have GM intrusions. Similar to complications, we have non-negative intrusions all the time. And again, I know that is especially... So, look, original Powered by the Apocalypse is the apocalypse. Everything is spiraling out of control. It's like playing Trophy Dark, right? You are supposed to lose. But with so many systems being built off of Powered by the Apocalypse, because it is a very flexible thing, people, like, GMs still keep that, like, everything is spiraling out of control. When you're playing Magical Girls and everything is constantly spiraling out of control, it doesn't fit the fantasy. GMs have to adjust, and again, that is a GM thing. But again, it's a GM thing, and GMing isn't easy. And not every kind of rule system is right for every GM.
And that circles back to something that we've kind of been like dancing around this whole time, is the idea that one, play different systems because different systems offer different things. And two, like, if you find yourself having to like build out all this stuff, or something that you're trying to do isn't working in this system, there's probably another system that does it better. Like, you know, you said earlier, don't try to introduce an entire table to Starfinder all at once. Like, let Starfinder come to you. Is really like sort of like the quintessential idea of like play different systems and find what works for you, because even like it's not that you will find your right system, it's you will find the benefits of all different types of systems, and depending on what you're trying to do or what you're in the mood for, because like you said, you play D&D in addition to Starfinder, in addition to other types of systems, and depending on what you're like, you know, you want an old-fashioned dungeon crawl where there's no possibility of escape and you just keep hammering, the D&D is the way to go because there are no real escape mechanics. And if you want a really terrible, long, plotting, like multi-capital ship, Star Wars-esque thing that's going to make every person at the table hate you, then plan out that capital ship battle in Starfinder. And there's this like style of tabletop RPG, like the Powered by the Apocalypse games, like Thirsty Sword Lesbians, where it's really just this focus on like very quick interplay between your players and them kind of like going at each other and like chit chatting and having a good time, that um that a system like D&D, like a combat encounter in D&D, isn't necessarily going to be that. And so it really depends on what you're looking for, what you're trying to do, what you're in the mood for. And it's important to expand and, investigate other types of systems.
And what kind of story you're wanting to tell, and what kind of story the people at your table are wanting to tell, because like we couldn't do the body and soul in 5e.
Yeah, would not work at all.
Would not work. But, and again, we're not saying like Powered by the Apocalypse is not my favorite. I've played a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse one shots. I have fun with it for one shots. I don't want to do it for a campaign. I know lots of people who love it for campaigns. So it's not that it's a bad system. It's not that it's flawed. It's just not how I play. Find what works for you and your table.
I highly recommend reading. I mean, who's got the time? But just go get an RPG rule book and read it. Any RPG book, doesn't matter. Just look, because there is an underlying logic to every game. There has to be, or else the game doesn't work. And I've said this before, and this is going to be the spiciest thing that I say. And I know what I've already said.
Right.
Dungeons and Dragons 5e and Pathfinder 2, y'all can stop arguing. It's the same game. Okay? You have a character and a bunch of numbers. You roll a dice, you add the number. It's the same game. Yeah, the math works out a little bit differently. You have to keep track of it a little bit differently. One has a little bit more than the other, but essentially, it's a D20 system. It's the same game. So once you learn the underlying logic of this D20 system, it's like, okay, well, now I can apply, like, I can make my own thing now. Like, I can go, okay, well, like, this skill system is based off of this. It's based off of D20 plus ability plus skill plus modifier. Okay, now I know that that's how the whole game works. And that's all you need. And then you go read, Powered by the Apocalypse, and it's like, well, actually, it's your score is the number of dice you roll, and that's the amount of chances that you have to get a success. I was just reading the Beacon RPG, which is a Kickstarter that has finished now, and is very Final Fantasy Tactics 14, general Final Fantasy inspired. And their extra dice, if you get a +1 to something, you add you add a d6. So if it's more accurate, you add a d6. But if you're also below ground or something, you subtract a d6. So all these different ways that are all these different ideas and logic paths to get to the same thing, which is a different way to use to balance randomization into some kind of result. So what I'm saying is, if you want to write, read. Which is classic advice.
And look at, D20s are very swingy. D6s have a nice bell curve. How do you use that? How do you counter that, right? I don't like math, but I have to sit down and look at these. What are the probabilities? How do these behave so that I can make the game do what I want it to do? Now, I know, David, you've got a thing, but we've been here for quite a while.
Yep.
I want to make sure, Mike, we've had so much fun talking to you, and we've had, we know a little bit about who you are and how you run game, but I want the details on Dead Sundays. Tell us, beyond just Starfinder, tell us.
So, here's the thing about Dead Sundays. In 2010, I decided that I was going to devote my life to stand-up comedy. Believe it or not, that was not a wise decision.
You don't say.
Okay. However, I just I like doing things. I like performing. I like being in a space of being perceived, right? So I'm always constantly. So eventually, I found my way.
I don't know anything about that.
So eventually, I found my way to producing an actual play called Dead Sundays, where we play Starfinder every Sunday. I am also going to say,
while you play it?
What's up?
Are you dead while you play it?
No, Dead Sundays is, I called it Dead Sundays because we're doing the Dead Suns adventure path, and the only day that we could all play was Sunday, and it just kind of fell together.
Writes itself.
So I'm going to give you one. If you're out there and you're like, man, I want to start my actual play, you should do it. First of all, you should do it. Always make the thing that you want to make. 2, don't worry about the quality. Just make sure that it's generally listenable, and then improve as you go. 3, do any amount of research. Just do like the littlest bit. Just don't buy a bundle of Starfinder stuff because you think that no Starfinder actual plays exist. You're a fool. Somebody has done the thing. I don't know why I thought that. I was just like, no, I've never seen it, therefore it doesn't exist.
Yeah, don't be aware,
Be
read Curse
aware.
of Strahd before you run it.
Yeah. Yes. Read the whole adventure before you run it. Because if you don't, actually very good advice in season 1 of our show, in book 2, they had to go through the jungle. They were in the jungle for 2.5 weeks. We have a character whose whole thing is talking to people. There's nobody to talk to in the jungle. They were literally just sick and couldn't do anything the entire time. Because afflictions and diseases and status effects in Starfinder are nasty, and they're the most dangerous enemy that you're going to face is getting sick in the jungle.
Heads up, y'all! We're going to do a thing really quick where we're going to lose captions again. They'll be right back. Hold on.
Do I have to dance, or you want me to keep talking?
You give me just 1 second. It's about to come back.
Okay. I was trying to see if my cat was around to maybe.
Yeah, Gilmore has hecked off. He discovered there were not going to be treats. So, yeah.
My cat doesn't get treats. He gets. Oh man.
My cat doesn't get shit.
My cat don't get. No, my cat gets $11,000 in hospital bills in the last 4 years. So he gets a lot.
Shadowmane says Dr. Doolittle made it work.
Okay. To be fair, we did not have the speak with animals amulet, or speak with the dead amulet. So my point is that I am a very performance focused person, but I started the show with like no planning. I was just like, we're just gonna do it, and I got my friend Ian, who I've known for a very long time. We used to do comedy together before he moved away. He was the person who introduced me to Starfinder. One day he was like, "Hey, come play this game with me," and I found out about it, and then I thought about it forever until I did something with it. He was a part of the Kaiju Big Battle performance series, as well as one of our other members, whose name is Steph. They are also an active member in Kaiju Big Battle. We have one of the former contributors to Hard Drive Magazine before that imploded. They are the precog operative named Clara, and then we have another very charismatic, very funny person. Oh, dude, there's a precog operative is I want to delete it. So good. And then we have another person.
Enough where they can give their roles to enemies yet?
Not yet.
Oh, that's. Para
and then
messes with our GM. So continue. Sorry.
One more person who is very charismatic and very fun and plays a very big character, who is a writer for a series that I'm not going to say out loud because I don't know which level of comfortable he is with saying that. So we have 5 people who are both, are artists and creators and performers and people who are good at being on camera and being looked at. So I assembled a very fun crew of people to play this game, and Dead Sundays, while it is I've described it now lately as a quintet of goofy bitches trying their best, it is a mechanics-focused, Starfinder-forward, fun time to just kind of hang out and watch us play and talk about the game and whatever if you want to watch us live, totally fine. Come in. Tell us about how you got through this part. Well, actually, don't tell me that part. Actually, yeah, let that sit. Post that as a comment on the YouTube video. That's one of the things that we want to solicit this season is if you're going to watch our video, that's great. Tell me what your character did, because Dead Suns came out like 6 years ago. I don't know how long it was. Tell me about your character. Tell me about how you got through that thing. Yeah. As well as coming in while we're recording live to come in and ask us questions. Like if you want to learn how to play Starfinder, like I try to over explain and dictate why we're doing what we're doing. And because of that, and because of that, I don't want to say that character work and story take a back seat, but I will say that seeing things described as a character-driven actual play is not what we are. And literally, like, watching your show and playing Baldur's Gate 3 were the things that kind of tipped me off to be like, oh, okay, that's fine. Like, this is just a different thing, and it's totally fine. And I think that every professional or every professionally produced like TTRPG should probably have some kind of mechanics-focused actual play attached to it.
I have been, when I was getting ready to join, when I was like, I need to learn Pathfinder, I was hunting for a mechanics-driven Pathfinder, because I'm like, I learn better by watching someone play. I learned to play 5e by watching Critical Role. Like, I was looking for who does this, and yes, there were some amazing performers who had great voices, but like, I'm like, what are you rolling? Tell me what you're rolling.
Why are you rolling this? And so to that point, what it pretty much now, as soon as we're done with like the scene, I go back and I say, okay, like you could like this. I'm going to tell you up front, like the episode we just had, you can talk to this guy, but he is angry. He is big. It's a hard check. It's gonna be impossible, you know, because I want them to play the game. I don't want to get, you know, I want that to be the focus. Which is why I'm also we've kind of like started to branch out and play like, oh, this is how you play Pirate Borg, this is how you play Eldritch Automata, this is how you play this game, is another thing that we're kind of doing like on the side when I have time for it. But
I will also say just real quick, I started listening to No Quest for the Wicked, and like that was really interesting and fun to listen to, because they were straight up like, only one of us has ever played Starfinder before. And they go through and they were like, we're figuring this out, and they do a thing and they'd be like, does that work? And the GM's like, we're gonna say it works, and they come back the next episode, they're like, okay, so that wasn't right. We're not like, we're gonna, whatever happened when we didn't know, we're letting it slide, but in the future we did this wrong, this is how it works, and this is why. There you go. We
have done that a lot. What I used to do, which I'm not doing anymore, I used to go and take our 3-hour session and cut it into an hour, 2 1-hour sessions, and I would cut out a lot of the things that we did wrong, and then go, oh, we didn't. Every TTRPG player has this issue where they read the thing that they want to do, and then they just kind of skip the last line. They're like, I got what I needed, except the line that says, but this doesn't work on spells. This spell doesn't work on constructs. This can only be done in the daytime, you know, shit like that. And that happens a lot. We've gotten a lot better at it because we've been playing it for almost 3 years. And but I used to do that, and I'm not doing that anymore. We're going to post the session as a whole, because I think that cutting it up kind of ruined the flow of how it goes. And we're going to be posting them every other week, except for the first like 2 or 3 episodes. We're going to go bang, bang, bang. And if you're like, oh my god, I'm interested in Starfinder, but I didn't see the first 2 seasons, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. I give a good recap up top. I over explain a lot of the concepts so that people who are watching, they can get right there. And if you're like, but I need context, we have at the end of each book, adventure paths in by Paizo are like book 1, book 2, book 3. There's 6 books. So now we have 4 videos in a playlist that are a overview of each book, to get the general story and what happened in each of them. And if you really want to, all the episodes are there. You can go watch every single episode. You can even watch the episode. There's an episode where like I didn't know what I was doing. I just did it. I wanted to do a thing, so I did it. And there's an episode where I don't have audio for like half of it. And I'm just like, there's nothing I can do. Like, this is just the way it is. You get the gist of it. But make the thing you want to make. Don't worry about it. You will eventually get better.
And
do a little bit of research.
I also want to point out that it's I'm glad you're including the parts where it's like, oh, this didn't go precisely the way it was supposed to. We have to go back and we have to look at part of the experience of TTRPGs is going, hold on, I got to dig through the book and figure this out. And part of it is knowing the system well enough where you can go, okay, I'm sure there's a rule for this, but we're not going to take the time.
Yes.
And getting that sort of like ebb and flow of like when someone goes, hey, I want to do blank, and you're like, I roll for it, or hey, I want to do blank, let me check some things. And that's like when people cut out like the mistakes, or like they don't go back and like explain them. People who are trying to not just learn the system, but learn how to play TTRPGs, learn how to run actual plays, they don't get that part of it. Leslie, your ears must have been burning because we were talking about you
the whole time.
Right, yeah, this whole episode has just been, but like, you know, everybody points to Matt Mercer, and Matt Mercer has been like, oh, this is just totally wrong, and I messed this up. Matt Mercer has had encounters where he's like holding like the paper, and he's like, well, all this goes into the garbage.
Yeah.
And I think that is not only satisfying for the players, but an essential part of the experience. Like, you know, having to build something on the fly, having to make a call in the moment, going back later and being like, okay, so you did this thing like 3 episodes ago, and I went and did the homework, and it's not supposed to work that way. That's fine. We're going to leave that in the past. But going forward, and
negotiate with players, like, I will let you do that. That thing is so cool. I will let you do it once. If you pull this thing again,
that's what we
I'm
call
saying
it.
No.
That's what we call it. The first time I ever did a spell in Starfinder, there's an energy disc, and I threw it, and it's supposed to bounce, you know, Captain America style, and it's not supposed to hit the same target twice. Ian let me hit it, bang, 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 bang. And when I looked it up, I was like, hey, that was actually wrong. He's like, you did a superhero move. That's it. So that's just what we do now. Like, if we mess something up and it works out really well for you, that was just your superhero movement. You got it. Also, I do want to say, very important, you cannot play by the rules if you don't know them. So, you know, have fun with that, whatever you want to do.
I will also say, too, I know why the black square is showing up, and it's not a you're bad, David. It was a rendering problem with the overlay, I do believe.
Okay.
Sometimes Photoshop just doesn't render things correctly.
Happens.
Obnoxious. But also, like, how and when to gently and correctly communicate information to other players. Like, not just GM to players, but like I've played a lot of 5e, and I've played a lot of 5e with either in the Fey realm or with characters who are very connected to the Fey realm. I know a lot about Fey because I love that stuff. Wild Beyond the Witchlight is probably the best 5e book that has ever been put out. Fight me. And I jumped over to Pathfinder, and I was deliberately playing a character who was incorrect about a lot of Fey stuff, because like they were very Irish coded, and very like the Irish, the old ways, you know, just leaning into that. So a lot of what they had was incorrect on purpose, just because I think that's funny. Like, they were like half Fey. We encountered a hag, and so I start quoting rules of hospitality and stuff to the hag. Hags in Pathfinder are fiends, not Fey. Everyone at the table knew this, and no one told me. And I'm like,
that's good.
I would have been so happy to have amended stuff had anyone told me.
Well, well, hold on. But that your character was being wrong on purpose. So like, you know, it does fit. But you know, at some point you do have to kind of like pull the veil back and go, hey man, I know it's an ice monster, but like not everything that is ice has fire, whatever. You know, it sometimes it does, but like it's not Pokemon rules. Like you know, it's not all the time.
So yeah,
I will say I want to recommend a book to everyone that I've been reading. It is called How to Write Adventures That Don't Suck. It is
Ooh.
produced by Goodman Games. It is on their website. Goodman Games produces the X-Crawl series and the Dungeon Crawl Classic series, which are both kind of like old school role playing, which is more about like lethality and kind of an adapt. It's like 2.75 Dungeons and Dragons. Hey, come here. Come here. I'm trying to get the cat. Hey. This is Twig.
We have a command for this.
Yes, we do.
Twig cost me $11,000. He is 4 years old. He has had double knee surgery, and then in October he decided that he wasn't gonna pee anymore, and we had to have that problem fixed.
My first cat had that problem. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Oh, and
Yikes.
there's an emote of him too. So if you want to subscribe to the twitch.tv/Logar the Ogar, that's his baby picture, and I took that right after he bit me. Yeah. But adventure modules that don't suck by Goodman Games. There's a lot of good like literal writing advice in there, which is very good. And just a lot of like very classic, like, hey, I've been in writing this for 30 years. Like that's just what I've been doing. It's a very good book, and it's kind of like it has confirmed a lot of things that I've kind of picked up by myself, but has put it into a word, like a structure that I can read and go, okay, this is why it's good. I knew it was good, but I didn't know why.
That is so useful. Like, I played TTRPGs on stream for a long time before I took my first improv class, and it was like, oh, I know all this stuff, but like now I know like the and the reason that works, and there's a word for that.
That's actually the experience I had at PAX, as I sat in two different how to be a TTRPG freelancer panels, and I was like, oh, this is great. I kind of knew all this and assumed it, but it's very validating to have somebody who is like literally doing it be like, no, this is how you do it, which is a whole other conversation that we don't have time for.
Yeah, I was very unpopular in my first improv class because they were all like, well, you've clearly done this before, and I'm like, no.
I've mentioned it before. I don't like improv. I don't get it. It's really like and I'm not trying to be a hater. It's just I don't click with it, and I know why I don't. But I took an improv class at the comedy theater, and when I went there, they were like, does anybody have any comedy experience? Of course, I knew the guy teaching the class. I was like, well, I do. And then 75% of the people who were taking their first comedy class like leaned forward and were like, yeah, we've all seen you. And I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, I'm just gonna I don't want to be here now. Like, what am I talking about? Like, Jesus Christ. It's like,
the thing about improv, like, and then this is I had to explain D&D to my company, we did lightning talks, and so I was trying to explain D&D to the entire company, and I was like, D&D is like improv with more rules.
Yeah,
it's more fun than it sounds, because truly in improv you are only as good as the other people that you're playing with, and if they don't know the rules, even more so than D&D, it's no fun.
It's a nightmare.
Yeah, this one woman who was trying her hardest, it's like, you're furniture shopping, go, right? And it's just so, it's the ultimate rules light.
I couldn't do it. Like I realized that the reason that I can never do improv is because like a lot of improv is not being yourself.
Yeah.
And they were like, you got to play like a different character. I'm like, why? I'm funny.
Why would I? Two different schools.
Why
there is
I'm
a
funny.
School of play a character, and there is another school of improv, which is like me plus, and I think you would actually like me plus. But again, like, you'd walk in and they'd be like, okay, you're shopping for furniture, and someone was like, cool, I love this bowl of blood sitting on top of this, and it's like, now like. And so everyone else in the scene like knew that, okay, if that's what this is, we now have to make that normal, right? So we're
right.
Like everyone else is like, oh yeah, this other thing, and she's like, she clearly didn't get how to make the game work, right?
Right.
So she kept trying to like escalate it and make it weird. It's like, no, you made it weird, so now we have to make the weird normal.
Right, you got to go the other way.
But she could like.
somebody offers you a glass of water and you like vomit. Like that's, you know, you have to do, please do a fucking bit. Do one bit while you're in the improv class. It just reminds me of that I never mentioned The Office, but that's that Michael Scott scene where he's just constantly like, and I have a gun. And I've played a lot of improv games with people like that, and I'm okay, thanks. Plus, it's expensive. Don't do improv. Just go hang out with your friends. It's the same thing.
I just got hit.
Is it the same thing?
Yeah.
No, because I have not taken an improv class, mostly because I don't have that kind of money hanging around.
Yeah.
But I've met people who spend a lot of money and a lot of time, and that group of people and my friends are two separate people. So it doesn't seem like.
I will also say the thing I liked least about the improv class was how they were always pressuring you to do a show and invite all of your family and all of your friends to come out and watch your improv show. And I'm like, but the people,
let's talk about it.
Multi-level marketing scene.
Okay, so we're gonna get into it. All right,
are not as good as the people that I play D&D with on stream, so I'm
exactly.
just gonna play TTRPG.
Right, just go. That's what Dave. That's what I was saying. Just go hang out with your friends. Don't spend $1,200 on 4 levels of improv classes so that they can teach you how to hold a cup. I literally went to a workshop that was called Object. I mean, me too. I literally went to an object workshop that was about how to sit in chairs and how to pull out chairs and how to hold cups. Now, I will say I have seen some incredible improv.
Yes.
But I have also, the 99% of what I have watched is dog shit.
Yeah.
It is. I cannot believe I paid $15 to watch this, whatever this is.
I have no need of a how to interact with props class, because I watch Star Trek: The Next Generation, and I know how Riker interacts with chairs, and that's all I need to know.
Yeah. I sit on chairs like that now.
Me too. We started this stream in the green room with the anti-stand-up comedy.
Yeah. So if for those who don't know, I was a stand-up comedian in Philadelphia for a very long time. I'm still in Philadelphia. I'm not a stand-up comedian anymore. I will be for the right price if you're interested. However, you cannot meet the price, which is part of why I stopped being a stand-up comedian, because there is a person now who is being seen a lot, and he is very out there right now. You will probably see him on a weekend theme show that happens at night, and it happens live on a weekend at night very often.
On what particular day of the weekend?
It is. I will not say which one.
Okay.
Fine interact. Yes. Fine interaction of a human being. He's but one of the things that happened when I met him was that he had moved from somewhere else, and he was able to kind of like integrate himself into a lot of I'm being very careful with what I say right now, because I remember when things started to happen for him, and everybody was like, wow, things are happening for him. And then I would like see him, and he like couldn't afford a beer. And that was the moment that I was like, oh, you are literally artists. Look at me. You are expected to allow people to not give you the respect that you deserve in order for you to eventually be allowed to demand the respect that you deserve. I'm not saying that they particularly disrespect you on purpose. I'm saying that they do not give you the respect that you deserve, because art and artists and ability is based on this idea that it is a magical property that we have. It's magic. Oh my God, I could never learn how to draw like that. But you could if you just were gonna draw every day. Like they didn't
if you
come out of the womb like that.
1,000 hours into it.
Right,
like but some of us have sunk into Rock Band.
I'm very good at World of Warcraft.
Right. Right.
Okay.
You're being a cat perch.
But I would go and do shows, and like even if I'm just gonna go do an open mic, right? I would be doing 5 minutes that night, right? My night would be 4 hours long, because there's 40 other people there also trying to do the same thing. I remember driving an hour to do a show and then getting a door cut, and it was $5. And then being like expected to be like, oh man, thanks. Like, no, if you have the money to rent a room and charge for a show and get people in the door, you don't keep that money. You give the money to somebody else. If you run a comedy festival, you can go fuck yourself. Every year, they convince people to. I'm sorry. I know I'm going on.
No,
They convince people.
No, I'm here for this. Yes.
To spend every year. They convince you to pay money for an application to maybe look at the video that you linked, and then if they don't accept you, you do not get the money back. So if you get 2,000 submissions for $35, that's $7,000. Plus they charge like $20 a ticket. Plus they got the money to bring in for the headliner. I'm not exactly sure like at what point I kind of was like, no, this is dumb and bad and people should not be a part. The amount of times, all right, I'm going to say something. I have seen recently, I've seen a couple of Kickstarters, and I wasn't going to say it the first time, but I've now seen 2 of them where they are offering a reward tier that if you pay them money, they will publish your writing as part of the Kickstarter.
Gross.
And I cannot tell you how many times I've been told, hey, if you sell 15 tickets, you can perform at the show. That's not how that works. Now, I understand gaining skill. I understand, not being good at it. And you kind of have to work your way up through, because nobody has the stand-up skill. You have to work at it. Like that's just how it is. Even if you're charismatic and funny and can write good.
No matter how funny you think you are, you will bomb on stage. Get up there, and in 5 minutes, in 60 seconds times 5, you'll be like, what am I doing? Why am I here? And why is no one laughing?
Yes. Oh, man.
If you have Dropout TV, go look up the best of Grant Shaming and watch his stand-up. It is...
Stand-up is
so funny.
Is this amazing thing that a bunch of white men convince themselves that they are not allowed to be happy. They are not allowed.
Truly.
And the way that has manifested itself is that anybody who's worth their salt is also expected to not be happy. And it's not necessarily a them inflicting it on everybody. It's just that the way that the business is made and the way that most projects are right now with gig work and freelancing and all that is that the only way to make it profitable is to pay 95% of the people less than what you're paying to do something else, to paying the main guy. So unfortunately, there is very little space between doing it for a very long time to get good at it and then suddenly realizing that you have so much further to go until you're actually allowed to like ask for money or like ask people to, I don't know, maybe start the show on time or get paid up front. That's if you're gonna do a show, get paid up front.
The audacity to ask to get paid up front.
Yeah,
there are plenty of comedy, like big name comedy clubs you've heard of, where if you walk up and you're like, by the way, pay me before I get up on that stage, where they will laugh you out of the door and write a text message and have 3 comics replace you immediately.
Yep.
Insane.
Yep. I mean, it got to the point where I was like, hey man, like, I don't know what else you want from me. I did all the, I showed up at the places you asked me. I'm clearly have demonstrated that I have, the acumen. Like, I don't know what else. And then every once in a while, like, they'd be like, oh, well, why don't you come try out for this thing? And then, oh, weird. They booked somebody for that wasn't a part of any of the other things. They just grabbed somebody else. And I was like, this guy can come too, though. And so it has this very, I'm not entirely sure how we've convinced ourselves, but I'm also just to be clear, I'm also not sure at what point you go from being an open mic comedian to somebody who deserves $100 for 20 minutes. Like a lot of because eventually you start to get to this, because we're in America, we're paid by the hour. That's how it works. But when you're, if you're only going to do 20 minutes, you're not going to get a headliner rate, and you're not going to get somebody to pay for your travel. So, you're kind of constantly stuck in this no man's land of spending your own money to spend more money to perform to not get paid.
Yeah.
But it's because you love it. It's because you love it.
And
it's
I
passion.
hate to say it, but very, very much the same thing for TTRPG space.
Oh yeah, and like another huge thing that I want to say about TTRPG is that this space is not nearly as big as everybody thinks it is.
Oh.
It is about 10,000 people all sharing the same $20 bill.
Yeah.
We just give it to you, and then you give it back to me, and then I give it back to you.
It's the convention artist thing.
Like I was listening to this show, and one of the things that you said was like a lot of actual plays went under the other year. I'm like, hold on. Actual plays can be over?
Yep.
They can like gain, like that doesn't, like unless it's produced like, you know, by the company, I'm thinking that we just do, like, we're just having a good time. Like I just want like the ad revenue. Like that's all I really want. Like, you know, I can't imagine, like I've heard people say things like, you know, oh, I'd like to take it all the way to Hollywood with my actual play, and I'm just like, hey man,
You know
like
what?
I gotta be real honest with you.
Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah,
I'll see you. I'll see you in 6 months.
The number of Hollywood script writers who come to me and are like, "You work in video games. I want to sell a video game script." And I'm like, That's not how that.
It's not a script. I mean, it has a script, but it's not a script. The way that you're thinking. So I think that like if you are a TTRPG creator and you are like kind of frustrated with the way that the business is, or you're thinking that you're not getting the traction that you should, it's because you actually might be getting the traction that you should. Like I put stuff up on Starfinder Infinite. I have bestsellers on Starfinder Infinite. I had something last month that was featured as one of Paizo's best-selling third-party modules. It sold 2. It sold 2 copies, and I was in the top 5 bestseller. So I want you to know that if you're making Dungeons and Dragons 5e content, you are competing with long-term professionals who have very good production value and are also making the most popular form of TTRPG content. The amount of times that I have to explain to people like, hey man, what are you up to? Haven't seen you in a couple years because you don't go to comedy shows anymore. Well, are you familiar with Dungeons and Dragons? Conceptually, yes. Okay, now sit down so I can explain 5 other things to you.
Yes.
Yep.
And that's what I've been up to. So I go ahead.
We also spend a lot of time. I've had a lot of people. I've been involved with a lot of actual plays trying to start up. And they're like, what do we play? And it's like, do we play Dungeons and Dragons because it's got the big audience and everyone knows what it is, but there's more competition? Mm-hmm. Or do I play the Starfinder or the system that no one's ever heard of because almost no one else, there are other people playing Starfinder. Let me be very clear.
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
Like, the
yeah, I've made friends.
So much smaller, but also the audience is so much smaller because all anyone knows is Dungeons and Dragons. And it's like, play what you want to play unless you are actually getting support from that company.
Yes. So I don't want to say something along the lines of like, oh, Critical Role has like ruined Dungeons and Dragons, but I think I'm going to bring up a very specific Reddit post that I read, and it was about a girl who had made a character, and the character was a half-elf, and she had written the backstory to be about an allegory for her mixed heritage, and she brought it to the table, and she was very upset that the dungeon master basically did nothing with it. And it was just like, hey man, like you gotta understand that like even like in the actual play scene, Critical Role and Dungeons and Dragons is dominating. So it is attracting a lot of these other, you know, people who are interested in it, but they don't really understand like what Dungeons and Dragons is. And the layover from that is that even if you are gaining like views on your things or you know, you're getting a lot of followers and doing your stuff, it still might not be for the right reasons. It might just be a bunch of bots, you know, it might just be, you know, cat retweets.
There was a thing that happened a year or 2 years ago where a very TikTok popular content creator felt like her character had been used by someone in Critical Role. This gets even more complicated because she was very white. Her character was dark-skinned, not black, but dark-skinned. And she felt like this character, the name, it was when Exandria Unlimited came out. And she was like, I play a warlock whose name is Opal. There was a warlock named Opal in Exandria Unlimited. It was played by Amy Carrera, who is a woman of color. So her character was dark-skinned, and this very white girl is like, this is reverse racism. They've stolen from me. They're claiming my character like, was doing all of the bad things, and is like, I know that Critical Role has seen my stuff because my TikToks get 1 million views each. And I'm like, Matt Mercer is not out there watching your TikToks.
Like,
I promise you. Matt Mercer has never seen your content.
Yeah, that, like, it's crazy, like, to people, like, people don't really, like, we just said people think that the TTRPG scene is bigger than it is, or they think it's big. It's actually much smaller. But what's crazy is that the rest of the world is actually gigantic, and there are billions of people who also, like, there is not one account for every person. Also, like, so that million view could be like the same person just kind of flipping through it back and forth 3 times. Yeah. So then you multiply that by 2 billion people, however many TikTok accounts there are. There's no way that you can say, like, oh, it's got 1 million views. That fucking Biden's seen it. I know Biden's seen it. I heard him mention it. He coughed, and that's what my character does. My character coughs.
And I've had to explain to people, and this is true for actual plays, this is true for video games, this is true for all of the streaming. There is a hierarchy triangle. And we hate to say this, right? Because especially, like, you do a Starfinder game, I play in a Starfinder game. We are not competing against each other.
No.
Right? That is not, if you're like, I'm going to have the best actual play of this thing and everyone else is my enemy, you are not going to make it in space. But there is a hierarchy triangle, right? And Critical Role is the tippy-tippiest top. And then you think, okay, then there's Dimension 20, and then there's, when Black Dice said, then there's these other bigger ones. The distance between Critical Role and Dimension 20, even though Dimension 20 is wildly successful, is still a huge gap.
Yeah.
And then the gap from the bigger known ones from down to, it is massive. It is huge. It is not like here and then here. It is like here and then it is like, and that sounds very mean, but this is also true. Like, I think it's something ridiculous. Like 85% of streamers on Twitch do not make any money.
No.
Like, they don't even, like, they're not even affiliate, right? And those who do make it, it is, the gaps are massive, and that's just a reality of it. So you are...
The majority of people on Twitch are streaming to themselves. Even more people who are streamers, because there are like a dozen platforms out there, are streaming to themselves.
Yes.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? I lost it. Oh, no.
This is what drives. I didn't join it, but I was invited to join an actual play where they had 6 people in the cast, and they were like, "Look, our last episodes we had like 2 viewers." And I'm like, there are 6 of you in the cast.
Right.
You should have 6 viewers.
Why aren't you all open? Right. And it's like it's almost sad. But at the same time, like, if you have a choice between, well, am I going to watch this Starfinder show with 6 people or this Starfinder show with literally 0 viewers? I'm going to watch the one, because if I'm going to chat, that's the whole point. But what I want to say is that, like, the people who bust out, I don't want to say it like that. The people who are very successful. Are very successful at an industry, like, we'll just even take regular streaming. And this is what I learned from comedy, is that what you have to do is you have to always be available to be applicable to apply for the lottery. And then after you are always available and your production value is good enough, eventually, out of a sea of 1,000 people, you've beaten the sea of 100,000 people, and now you're in a sea of 1,000, and you have to win the lottery again. Now, it is easier for some people. Attractive people get more attention, but they also get the wrong kind of attention. So they have to balance, getting this very quick influx of attention for the thing that they're doing. And they also have, dudes who don't wear pants that fit. and thinking that you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and then I will be a massive Twitch streamer is not true.
And you have to do all the marketing, and your production value has to be good enough. And
the invisible work.
You can be very funny. I have seen incredible performers at a table where they were not given the space to be incredible, or they did something really clever and no one interacted with it.
Yeah.
And so it fell flat.
And when you're recording on Zoom like this, that happens. That's part of it. Like, you have to kind of work with the medium that you have, and sometimes you're gonna say something and your mic cuts out right as their mic kind of like they turn their head and it's just off their ear a little bit and they're not gonna hear it. And that also happens sometimes. So when you're comparing yourself to something like Dimension 20 or Critical Role, remember that there is not only a production team behind them, there is a production team after them and before them that are setting up and making this whole thing happen. So when you are out there and you're like, man, wow, why am I not getting, the views that I'm like, well, it's because, they're streaming in 4K and you are only applicable to stream in 1080p. And that's, for some people, I have a friend who used to play Starfinder, and I said, hey, I'm starting the Starfinder thing. Why don't you check it out? And he said, hey man, you're really good. I got to tell you, I can't listen to it. I have really sensitive ears. I'm an audiophile. I have been my whole life. He's like, it's good. It's not for me. And it's very honest. And so like you suddenly learn this, like, oh, okay. Yeah. There's just people that you're not going to get.
I have a TTRPG friend who's like, I have balanced the exact audio levels for this, and I will not listen to actual plays without audio. I have another TTRPG friend who's like, my partner is very sensitive and cannot listen to actual plays that have music behind them. So my actual plays do not have music.
Interesting.
You will never hit everyone. And I'm also going to say, and I hate that I say this, it is the bane of my existence. I hate this fact. Your 2, 3, 4 hour actual play is not going, I'm not saying it's not going to be successful. It is not going to go viral. It is not going to get the hits. It is not going to get the eyeballs if you do not know how to make short form content out of it.
Yep. That is so 100%.
That is a skill set on top of a skill set. You have to know how to edit it to make it ready to go. Then you have to know how to find those clippable moments. You have to make a clip that is 1 to 3 minutes or less, ideally less. You have to know how to make that visually appealing to.
Hey, and if you want to check out how you do that, you can head over to youtube.com/@deadsundays to view a couple of our clips from season 2. And don't you worry, babies, there will be many more clips happening in season 3, because part of the reason that I decided that I was going to upload one long video every 2 weeks was because now I can have the thing that I want, and then the attraction gain is going to be the week and a half of shorts that I cut up. But I had to learn how to do all that, and I didn't think of any of those things when I bought the Starfinder bundle from the guy 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
And now I'm like doing all this stuff that I never thought I was going to. But I will say that if you are doing that, I will give you one piece of advice. There is a way that you can add a marker to your stream. I use a stream deck. I literally have a bunch of buttons in front of me. I can hit a button and it makes a clip and it puts a marker there. You can put it in your OBS. You can, if you need to remember that something good happened, do it. Also, you gotta watch your own content. I know you want to go like, oh, I already saw it, so I know what happens, but you gotta do it.
You gotta do it. I will also say, if you have StreamerBot, if you see we pop up and it says command clip, if you type !clip, so you, the audience, have control, it makes a clip, it puts it in our Discord, and it marks the stream for me. So you are helping me on so many levels.
Everybody's learning something today. I gotta get that.
A lot of the short form content we have is people are watching us and they're like, that was funny. Clip. Yep. Boom.
Thank you, Ribbonon.
Thank you.
But yes, and I will also say, and this is the other thing, why isn't it working for, oh, it's just taking a minute. I will also say, like, know what your game is to market it. And that's why the I had a moment of like, oh no, because friends at a table really doesn't sell.
No, I mean, look, I don't want to talk. I did see somebody say something the other day. I mean, I'm on Twitter all day. And also, we've established this. I'm a hater. Born a hater, die a hater. I am a contrarian. Y'all are
You're
dumb.
a stand-up comic.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
know.
yeah. The only person I hate more than everybody else is myself. Okay. But I saw somebody post something along the lines of like they took a screenshot of somebody's description of their show, and flaccid, cute fungus, tuberculosis taco left. Wow.
That's thanks for the auto name on our clip. Twitter.
And the description was, and I think this might have been when it really clicked for me, was the encapturement or something along those lines, the capturing 4 friends at a table creating stories together. And somebody had taken that screenshot and posted it on Twitter, and they were like, this is the Christian husband, father, gamer of descriptions. And here's what I want to say to that. 1, you're right. It's bland. 2, it doesn't matter. Make the show you want to make. If you really are husband, father, Christian gamer out here, fucking do it. Post your Jesus Christ RPG superstar, like whatever game that you're playing. Like, do it. Do the thing that you're going to do. But I will say that if you are doing something like that, you do need a copywriter. Like it does have to be like, there's a billion of those. Like, you got to figure it out. The show has to be about something.
You have figured out, like, we are really focused on mechanics. We are Starfinder first. And that is the thing. That's, people know what they're getting into there. And so, even if that's all you got, that's so much. Like, we talk table talk show, indies to intersectionality. We're not going to be out here dishing about the latest hot gossip. I mean, we will if it's really topical, but we're not going to focus on it. We're focusing on life stories and indies and sorry.
So, many years ago, I went and saw a very famous author host a discussion about 4 writers. And I watched this man for like 40 minutes straight die inside, because every aspiring writer there are no stupid questions, but
there are common ones.
They were all wrong-headed questions. And I don't remember what I asked him, but there was this like look of relief on his face where he's like, oh, a question about writing that is actually relevant that I can answer. But the one that I remember that finished him, that was the finishing move in Mortal Kombat, was they were like, hey, so you're putting out this property on such and such. What sort of market research did you do to see what was cool, what was popular? Like, was it like vampires and zombies? Like, did you know this thing was coming? And he looked at them and he was like, I wrote something that I was interested in. Like, I thought this was cool. What do you mean, market research?
I had a fever dream, and then I wrote it down, and then I made it into a book. Like, that's how
half the God Plane was written. David.
And that, honestly, dude, that mindset of like, did you do market research before you wrote this book, dude? Fuck you. That's why. Right, that's why AI art exists.
Yeah, and I watched him die, and so. And to circle back to like what Kay and I have said on this channel many times is, don't let me or Mike or Kay or anybody tell you what to or not to make. If you're like, I want to do this, then go do it. Because the number of times that I have looked at somebody and gone, wow, that's a terrible idea, and then seen it on ABC is more than once. But like do whatever it is. Like, if you want to do dudes sitting around at the table having a good time, great, go do it. But once you decide to do it, it's important to understand what you are doing, what the point of what you are doing is, and what direction you are heading in. Because if you don't, 1, you won't be able to market it, and 2, you'll lose your way. Like,
yeah. But importantly, I did not figure that out until 3 months ago, and I had been at it for 2.5 years. So sometimes you don't do your market research. So you should do a little bit of market research, just a little bit.
You can do it. Like, and again, this is a lot of how do you make it easier for yourself, both to tell the story and to get other people to watch your story. Because while I say we're not competing, right? I'm not like Mike is my mortal enemy because we're both in Starfinder games, so his Starfinder game has to die.
That's not why we're mortal enemies.
I want
it's for a different reason.
Right. Yeah. I want Mike's Starfinder actual play to go really, really well so that more people will go, Starfinder seems cool. I want to listen to more, or I want to run an actual play, and then maybe I can be on it. Right?
Mike
like,
knows.
That's and it's somebody earlier, I think that Jason said earlier in the chat, that said a lot of the people who run actual plays don't watch actual plays. And that's probably true. I mean, for the first year that I did it, I didn't really get the concept. I liked doing it, so I kept doing it, but it took me until over the summer I discovered formerly Southern Tomfoolery, Strange Table Fellows, who did a run of the Skitter Saga on their YouTube channel, and that was fantastic. And then that's how I found out about them. So now I'm like, oh my god, I have so much, which I'm not going to go through it all, but I was like, oh, okay, this isn't the character roleplay focused thing that I've been seeing. This is more about Starfinder. This is the thing I want to watch. And then over the next, and then hearing you and then playing Baldur's Gate, like all those things, just like, oh yeah, I just like Starfinder and am a guy who needs people to pay attention to him.
I was gonna say, so Emergency Power, we played that. We were recording it well before they did theirs, so we had several in the bank using all the pre-gen characters. I played Panacea, and then Southern Tomfooleries came out, and it was like doing my head in, because I'm like, that's not what Nako's like. I mean, it's not what Nako's like, but it's not the Nako that I know. Right.
Yeah.
It was, and they're great. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that they were.
No, I get it.
No, but it was just like, I'm so confused.
But that is like the only other actual play that I watch. I do pop in to other live Starfinder things to see what they're doing. Sometimes I pop in to be like, hey, you're stuck on that role. I know that role, so here I am. Actually, I had this really odd experience at PAX. I was playing in a Starfinder Society game, and I had this great GM. His name was Idaho. He gave me this amazing pin after we were done. It like blew my mind. But like we were fighting, and he's like, "Okay, well, you're gonna take a penalty for shooting into melee," and I didn't say anything. And then we went on a break real quick, and I just kind of leaned in, and I was like, "Hey, that's actually not a thing." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, there is no penalty for shooting into melee. It's just cover." So like after that, he would say stuff and then look at me, and I was like, "Oh my god, no! I don't like." I felt like such a nerd. Like I felt like a nerd to be like, "Actually, teacher, actually, they changed it in the American version. Her name was actually Aerith."
Right.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. 65. Yeah, I think
by any name, she got what she deserved. Anyway, continue.
Yes. I think, Jason, it depends on the person. Because for me, like, I am a nerd for Taliesin. I love Taliesin. I love our executive goth, right? I love how private he is about his personal life and how open he is in TTRPGs. And I have been like, I will watch anything that Taliesin is on. And I'm that person who I will find a personality and I will follow them. And I'm not even watching Critical Role Campaign 3 right now. It didn't grab me, right? And I love everyone at that table, and Campaign 3 didn't do it for me. I fell off so hard. I still have my Ashton.
Is that the one where they were a bunch of white guys going into tombs? Is that what Campaign 3 was, or is that something else?
That was the opener for it, but they.
Oh, okay. I remember that, and I was like,
no. That was like they're a bunch of Hollywood white people going.
I know, yeah.
We're going
sometimes
for camp, and then they went. Shit.
Fuck. Because to be fair, I mean, it does sound fun, to go exploring in a place that is old and probably dangerous. But without like somebody to be like, hey man, actually.
I think And again, I know they do have sensitivity consultants, and they probably had a sensitivity person who went, yeah, that's fine. And then
Yeah.
it went out, and everyone went, and they literally, the first reaction for them was like, it's camp. Oh, it's camp because of white people.
Yeah.
Like,
It
and so
happens.
again, and we've said this before, you will make mistakes.
Oh, you got it.
On your stream. You will do things, and someone will say, that's not cool, or that hurt my feels, or that, like, isn't okay. And it is on you to be the good person and say, and not just go like, well, screw you, go away, but to go, I didn't know that, or I didn't think of that. I had a friend call me. I had a very good friend. I was asking people about something, and a friend was like, that sounds terrifying, and that reminds me of this thing that happened in the not so distant past. And I'm like, that didn't even occur to me.
I will never bring it up.
Thank you. Right. Like, I mean, it was even mechanics within a game. And I was like, I am changing what kind of damage that is so that it's not this exact thing. But yes, we have been going for 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
and I could go for another hour and a half, but I do feel like we need to wrap up, and I want to make sure that you get to promote Dead Sundays and talk about all your really good stuff, because
I did it a couple times, but I'll give you the actual schedule this time. So last week, last Wednesday, we posted our recap video of book 4. Then 2 days later, I released a Dead Sundays Starfinder Enhanced trailer. And very important, I didn't love it, but I liked it. So I posted it because it had the information I wanted, but I wasn't in love with it. But I did it anyway. I made the thing I wanted to make, and it was
perfect. Be the enemy of good.
Let it be the example, and we can only get so close. And then I posted that. That's going to live on that page, and if you ever need to convince somebody that they should play Starfinder or want to learn about Starfinder, you can give them that video. And then Sunday we recorded episode 1 of Dead Sundays Enhanced. It's about 2.5, 3 hours. It is going to be posted tomorrow. I have to render it right now. After we record, I do an intro and an outro just to kind of give it a framing device and remind everybody that this is a game, and you know, this is where we are, and you don't have to know and what we're doing and stuff. And then Sunday we'll have episode 2, which will be posted on Wednesday, and then we'll be every other Wednesday, including so it'll be first and third Sundays, including any fifth Sundays that fall in the month. But if it falls on a fifth Sunday, I might have something a little
spicy,
little special. I've been sitting on this game. I didn't even tell my crew about this, but I've been sitting on this game called Convictor Drive, and it is about it is the oh my god, it's like Power Rangers, Kamen Rider, superhero anime, mech suits, like trauma. It's very very good. I kickstarted it a while ago, and it is it's fantastic. So I'm gonna do it in Starfinder. Maybe it depends on how it works out. But that's what our show is going to be. It's going to be every other week, a 3-hour session of Starfinder. In between is going to be all the shorts that we cut up, all the best moments that you can tell all your friends about this new show. You can be like cool and be like the first one that heard about it. It's very cool. And then on the Twitch channel, it's the same thing, but I am going to try to put more content. I'm going to try to go live more, but I say that every year and then I never do because it's hard. It's hard, and like I have to make these shorts. Like my friends are very funny, and I have to repay them with views. That's the only thing I can repay them with. Because by the way, they don't get paid. I don't get paid. They don't get paid. Nobody gets paid. There's no pay that's happening. If the show makes any money from ad revenue, that goes right back into buying materials for the show. Because the show is great. Now, if it super pops off, that's different. However, I want a lot of people to understand that unless an actual play has production value, and unless it is produced, and unless it has investor money, you are not going to get paid. And that is fine, because you just like it. Now, I know that goes against what I just said about knowing your worth, but you have to understand that, like I said, we are sharing the same $20 back and forth.
Yes.
So you don't have to do it. You can just not do it. That's perfectly fine.
I have been paid to be on shows
right.
or to run, but it is not the majority, and it is like most of what I do is not paid because I want to tell stories with friends, and I would rather tell stories with friends than sit around and not tell stories and wait for someone to hand me $50.
Yes, that is. I think making sure that you're doing something that you want to do is very important. Because you can spend a long time doing something that you don't want to do, or feeling that you have to do certain things in order to get the thing that you do want to do. And then eventually one day you wake up and you're like, oh, well, I've been keeping myself miserable on purpose.
As we say, it is not true in a TTRPG, but when it comes to playing TTRPGs, disengaging is a free action. Do it if you're not having fun.
Yeah. You can always just not do it.
Yeah,
but that's all I got.
And here's the other thing. We live in a capitalistic hellscape, and so many of the things that we do ostensibly for fun, we have to monetize. And it's okay to do something creative that not everybody's gonna see, that's not gonna turn a profit. Like, I'm learning how to play the guitar. Will I ever go to an open mic and play guitar and launch my music career? Absolutely not. Will I ever have a SoundCloud? Only if I am rapping about goblins.
We can do that. I'm from Philadelphia. We can do that.
Oh my god.
Candace will help.
Yeah, that just got real dark. But like, you know, I write things that I don't show other people, in addition to the things that I write that I only send to Kay because I need Kay to hurt me. But it's okay to do things that don't generate revenue, and I feel like it's important to say that out loud to other people who are creatives and aspiring creatives. It's okay to just do the thing because you want to do the thing because it's fun. Like all the time you spend putting together a puzzle is not time wasted.
No.
And if you need like comfort, if you need to like justify it to yourself or to someone else, how much money would you be spending if you were buying a new video game to play every time you were playing TTRPGs? How much value are you getting for your time telling stories with friends and bonding versus having to throw down for the new Madden or the new Call of Duty every single time?
Hey,
I'm still playing Madden, Call of Duty?
Why are you calling me out like that?
That's rude, yeah. Hold on. Listen, they update the roster every year. It's a different game, okay? It's not the same game.
Look, you can be thrown down for the Overwatch 2 Battle Pass, or you can be playing...
Absolutely not. I would never. I have morals. He says, playing the Blizzard Activision, the other Blizzard Activision game. I would never do that to myself. I've done it.
Just hit me with the kidney shots.
I am sad. It's like the you have dark vision, you can be normal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm just savage. Okay.
We've lost our
captions,
we did.
So we are going to wrap it up at this point. So thank you so much, Mike. David has been dropping links in chat on the VOD. There will be all of the links. Go check out Dead Sundays. Enjoy use of Starfinder, because I sure as heck do. I'm Kay. I've been one of your co-hosts. You can find me here on every Tuesday doing this. Thursdays and Fridays, David and I play Baldur's Gate 3, so Mike can't scoff at us. Saturdays, come by at noon Eastern for Body and Soul. It is incredible. I am in no way involved with it. And then Saturday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern, come find me for the next 3 weeks playing Emerald Templars, where I will be playing a centaur.
We don't have another hour to talk about centaur accessibility. We should.
I am surprised that D'Angelo let me play centaur, because they come at level 1 with 2 extra feats.
Boo! And some people think that they should get paid for this.
David, who the heck is you? What the heck has we been doing here?
Hi, I am in pain. Hi, I'm David. This is the Chaotic Wholesome Presents Table Talk Show, featuring someone who was smart enough to get out of stand-up comedy. But we talk about TTRPG stuff, how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, how to be a better person, all with a focus on intersectionality and inclusivity, so that everybody can have a good time.
And with that, who we gonna raid? Let's see, who we got?
Q is on Live from the Apocalypse.
Let's go do that. Yeah. So thank you all. Have a great evening. Thank you for spending so much time with us. Mike, we cannot thank you enough.
This was great. I had a great time. I've been thinking about this like every day for the past month and a half, and it was everything I wanted it to be.
All right, y'all.
I got to
kind
talk
to
shit.
yourself. Be kind to yourselves, be excellent to others, and we will see you next time.